Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids.
Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 81st reply to comments video. It's a video in which I reply to your comments. I make them every so often, and the reason I make them is because I don't have time to reply to all the comments I get by text because I'm such a popular channel, of course. But I feel obliged to reply to the comments you make because you take the time to actually do it. And you know, some of your comments are long, thought out, very thoughtful, things like that. And some of them are very critical, but I don't mind that. I still feel obliged to reply to your comment. Now, you might think this is a really stupid system, Ben, because you're thinking, what's the point of making a video replying to a comment? I want you to reply to my comments and you send me a 9-hour video to watch. Well, firstly, you don't have to watch a 9-hour video all the way through because there's a timestamp underneath the comment I'm replying to. I say thanks for your comment, it'll be answered approximately within, and I give you a 1-hour time slot within the video to which I'm going to the upcoming video, say upcoming reply to comments video, to which I'm going to reply. So the longest you have to watch is an hour. It's not too bad, is it? Also, let's face it, you know, my comments reply videos are not 9 hours any longer. They used to be because I used to do them every 2 months. Now I try to do them every 2 to 3 weeks. It's quite a long period since the last one, so this may be longer than normal, but I don't think it'll probably go longer than 4 hours maximum. Don't hold me to that. Now I've said that. But you don't have to. It's not going to be that long, and you only have to watch 1 hour of it. Now, also another reason I do these videos is I enjoy doing them, and I know a lot of you guys like them, and I know a lot of you watch them all the way through. You know, regardless of whether you want a comment answered or not. So that's why. So let's go to the last comment made after the last comment I made. The last comment made after which I addressed in the last comments reply video, and it's of Mongoose and Man, part 3 of 3. Jam Noise 72 says, "There are no flies on you, bro." Oh, God. I tell you what, when I was on the Isle of Man, there were flies everywhere. Okay, Mongoose and Man, part 2 of 3, Popcorn Boxing, 5201. Oh, wow, the Creek Inn. How was it? How was it? What did you have for food? Right, what's that? Let's have a look. There's a timestamp here.
I'm here in the Creek Inn in Peel, Isle of Man.
Oh,
I'm with all my friends.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. Popcorn Boxing. I can't remember. 5733 of Mongoose and Man 2 of 3. Oh, he says this is. I hate not sleeping. What's this?
All right, my friends. It's like about it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, he says here, I hate not sleeping. Yeah, I had insomnia there, which does happen from time to time. I get it every so often. I actually there'll be another video coming where I had a bit of insomnia. That's coming up soon. And we have now replied to comments 80, and Popcorn Boxing says first. Oh, well done, Popcorn Boxing. Tinfoil hat is on its way to you. Same video, Seth Aaron Fletcher second. Nice one. Right, Mongoose and Man 2 of 3. Popcorn Boxing says, what a house to do a Ouija board session in. God, you're not kidding. Spooky or what? I mean, if it had been thunder and lightning outside, it would really made the effect complete, wouldn't it? It really, really would. As it was, we were in a very, very spooky place indeed, yeah. Reply to comments 80. Hugo Rune, hello Hugo, says third, and I'm featured. You are indeed, yeah. You've been quiet lately. I hope you're alright. Hope you're okay, mate. Hope the forces of the anti-drug squad aren't getting you down again. Reply to comments 80. Stephen Trusiger, mumbling is 100% a troll. I don't think he's a troll, Stephen. I think he's a guy who doesn't believe in this sort of thing we're talking about. And he says so very bluntly, but you know, I've got quite a thick skin because of things that have happened to me in the past, which you know about. Other people who've attacked me, and it's been really bad. I've had to call the police at one point. Steve Mumbling actually replies to Stephen, I'm 100% looking for the truth, not science fiction stories. There you go. And John Nolan says, yes, but he's very funny. He is, isn't he? Stephen says to Steve Mumbling, so the mainstream media wouldn't lie to us? Good question, Stephen. Or politicians wouldn't lie either, would they? This is a separate comment. And and then Perry Storm says to Stephen, "You need to see a doctor. He can refer you to a specialist." And Stephen says to Perry Stone, "Oh dear, are you? You sound a little bit dodgy. I think I recognise that name because you've made a few comments, haven't you? Well, let's just see what they're like." Because you know what line, if you overstep, you're gone, mate. But we'll see. Stephen actually replies very well, though, to Perry Stone, one that specialises in dealing with idiots and bullshitters. Brilliant. That's a brilliant rejoinder, that, Stephen, I'll tell you. Absolutely fantastic. Reply to comments 18, Mrs. Balloons, who's married to Mr. Balloons, I presume. Hi, Ben, hope you're well. I can assure you that the UFO hearing will not reveal anything. It's not actually news, it's an entertainment production. TV is only make-believe. All right, I appreciate the comment, Mrs. Balloons. But as well, I mean, you posted this comment over 3 weeks ago, and I think time has... I think time might have proved you wrong there. It may not have revealed everything, but it certainly revealed an awful lot. Stephen Truthseeker says to in80, it's YouTube, Ben. They put numbers next to people's names. I've noticed that, yeah. They're probably going to have people's names alongside their channel after this next crisis they create. They may well, Stephen. I've noticed this. For example... in some of your posts, you're called Stephen Truth, Hugo Runis, Hugo Runis 766. Steve Mumbling has his name and then 7720. Yeah, I don't know why do they do that? It's strange, that. All right. Anyway, because it's not in all of them. Some of them they're not. They're different. Anyway, Stephen says once again on reply to comments 80. I once went fishing in Holywell, North Wales. Lots of ponds and lakes there. Oh, Holywell. Are you sure that's not Holyhead? But yeah, there's a lot. Fishing in Wales is great. I mean, outdoor sports and pastimes in Wales is fantastic. It's one of their big industries these days. Another comment by Mrs. Balloons on reply to comments 18. I'm interested in otherworldly visitors, but I will know when I see them, not when someone on TV tells me what's true or untrue. Also, I'd rather see it on my neighbour's camcorder because I'd rather keep my distance from. Because I'd like to keep my distance from them. Wish me luck. I'd rather see it on my neighbour's camcorder. Yeah, feed them to the aliens, Mrs. Balloons, if they're the man-eating kind. Yeah, but that's actually, of course, what you've just said there is understandable because a lot of people do start taking UFOs seriously when, and not before. They have their own experience, and but if obviously, if your confirmation from the state though is important in this case. I mean, people often ask you, why do you need that, Ben? Why do you need the bloody government? You know what you think of the government. Well, the reason is because it's a. I suppose the biggest reason is that it is the end of the truth embargo would be a harbinger of the end of the New World Order, basically. It would completely change the world. Perry Stone says underneath, you are delusional. What? Perry, it's just 3 words. You are delusional. Not you're delusional because, or you're delusional and by saying this. It's just you're delusional. Well, Perry Stone, if Mrs. Balloons had posted 2 + 2 = 4, would you reply you are delusional? Would you do that? This is typical skeptic bad logic which you're using here. Someone says something and you reply with rhetoric. That's all it is, Perry. It's rhetoric. It's evidentially and epistemologically useless. But it's just 3 words. You're delusional. 2 + 2 = 4. It's delusional. All bachelors are not married. Delusional. Roses are red. Delusional. You see what a pointless comment you just made. Totally pointless. Mrs. Balloon says on reply to comments 80, Earthlings did not go to the moon. Humans are too stupid and don't work together well without conflict. Plus, the videos look absolutely foolish. Can't believe anyone would think they were taken on the moon. There, that should get the Agent Smiths a buzzing. I'm sure it will, but not just the Agent Smiths, but the trolls. I think you're trying to bait Steve Mumbling here, aren't you? Firstly, humans can work together well under ideal circumstances, and there is a secret space program which has sent people to the moon. But the Apollo missions didn't, as we've explained many times in various Apollo Detectives episodes. Stephen Truthseeker says on reply to comments 80, 17th. All right, Stephen, you get 1/17th proportion of a tinfoil hat sent your way. Stephen Truthseeker says, what's Mr. Mumbling scared about? And Steve Mumbling replies underneath, nothing. The UFO fanboys are the ones terrified. This UFO nonsense will be shown up for what it really is. Science fiction. Double feature picture show. What's this? Oh, we have Steve sent me a link.
Okay, now I'm just going to use a couple of clips from this video here. This is from the New York.
Oh, this is the Bateman's basement office. This is what's his name? Stupid haircut, baby Hitler. What's his name?
Link to this video below so you can watch it in its entirety. And if you're interested in this subject and you really want to know what's going on, this video is well worth a watch.
Well, yours is Stephen Greenstreet. That's it. How can I forget him? Well, it's 16 minutes long, Steve. I'm not going to watch it now, but Congress should subpoena these guys. Stephen, I've seen that video. I've not seen your video, but I've seen the video you're referring to here. So, and I have commented on it, I believe, because it's actually quite interesting, even though it's wrong. So that's back to normal. Okay. 80, Stephen Truthseeker. You're a Libra. That's an air sign, like Aquarius, my sign. Yes, I am. I am a Libra. And it is an air sign. Yeah, we're entering the age of air right now. So yeah. Oh, we got our first thread now, or our first long thread. Steve Mumbling says here. This is on reply to comments 80. Making 3 reply videos isn't taking me on live, is it? You're terrified of taking me on live, and you know it. You, Steve, we did take you on live. I did an entire video, entire discussion, which I was actually chairing, moderating, of you and the other Apollo detectives. And the crafty nihilist says underneath, Steve, I've always wondered who's in your avatar. I like his hat. I think you'll find that's actually him. That's actually Steve. I think when he was a bit younger, but that's him. Becoming says underneath your. Oh, let's see. Who's on your? No. Craft your YOU apostrophe RE. Becoming nothing. No. They spelt it correctly. Your, as in the possessive pronoun. YOUR. So Crafty spelt it correctly. Not that it matters. We all know. You know, if they make that spelling mistake, everyone can find it out. Right. It looks like Become Nothing has deleted one of his comments. I think he was correcting himself. He or she was actually correcting himself. So he or she has deleted their comments, and Steve replies to him, it doesn't make him any less terrified. All right. Don't know what you mean by that. Crafty Nani says to Become Nothing. Really? And no, it isn't, haha. I'm not saying Steve, who's on your avatar, haha. Make sure you're not making an idiot of yourself before trying to make an idiot out of someone else. Right, I can't follow this conversation, unfortunately, because Become Nothing has deleted all but one of their posts, or for some reason I can't see it. Jack Burns says, Steve, I thought you were a somewhat fair and funny skeptic compared to most, who can't even seem to crack a laugh. How can you claim superior intelligence when you're still making shaky cam vids by pointing your camera at a TV in order to discuss the content? That's Steve's style. It doesn't bother me. I myself am not an ideal technical expert, but he is. I don't think he's a fair skeptic, Jack Burns. I think he is funny. Certainly, he's not fair. And Steve says, how does pointing a camera at the TV laptop make me less of a fair and funny skeptic? Well, that's true, I suppose. Jack says to Steve, well, after reading one harsh comment under a recent vid on your channel, I may have been too kind in that assessment. But regarding the shaky cam vids, to me, it does kind of undermine your implied sense of superior intelligence and brain capacity to alternative, quote-unquote, truth seekers such as UFO researchers and moon landing skeptics. Then again, maybe if that's just you, you're a laid-back skeptic, hence the humour. By the way, I'm not here to fight. I think, Jack, it doesn't bother me, I think, as much as it does you. I've not really cared the way Steve's always done that way, and it's become his kind of house style. Like myself, I mean, I think if I improved myself technically in terms of my production, a lot of you would complain about it because, I think you become quite fond of my style. Steve says, "No worries, mate," as we say here at Oz. "I don't take this stuff too seriously. I make poorly produced videos if I have the time. I think they're good enough to get my points across. I don't live for this stuff like Jones and Co. And I have a day job, so I don't need Google ad money." Alright, Steve, I have a day job too. Like most people, I work full time. And I don't have any Google ad money. My channel's not monetized. I've never actually applied for a monetization, and I wouldn't be given it even if I tried. I'm not trying to make a career out of it. A spaniel has superior intelligence and brain capacity to alternative truth seekers such as UFO researchers and moon landing skeptics. Well, spaniels are dogs, and dogs are very intelligent, actually. But I don't think a spaniel or any other breed of dog could work out the things that we've worked out. So again, you're doing exactly the same things that what's their name, Perry Down or whatever they were called, was doing to balloons, saying, "Oh, I'm going to make some witty or less witty in this case piece of a silly statement of just a few words, and suddenly I kind of made a point." Jack says to Steve, "Fair enough, Steve. Please don't lose the banter." Steve hasn't lost the banter. Jack, this is Steve being polite, believe me. "It's a shame then you're unlikely to ever do 720p 1080 footage of your car journeys across the outback." That would be... But he has, actually. I think he has at some point. I don't know if it's 720 180, but it's... he has done some things like that. He has filmed himself. He's done driving vlogs and things like that. And he's pointed the camera forward and filmed himself running over kangaroos and things like that. And he says, "I know it adds a lot of time and uploading processing, though." And there's Lights Willow says, "Hi Ben, without any disrespect to the other regular contributors who are here like myself, week in, week out, I think the CR vids," that's comments reply, "are greatly enriched by Steve mumbling." I must admit, Lights, yes. He's always. I think I've successfully debunked most of what he says, and when I'm doing so, I'm addressing you, the viewers, more than I am him. I know I'm not going to change his mind about anything, but he's actually quite entertaining, and he's quite fun. I can put on a voice. I can put on a strange voice which is not really quite like his voice, but it's the voice I've kind of given him. Yeah. Lights says, "His views and of course your impression of him when you read the comments. He may be sceptical, but he never seems to be rude to you as a person and clearly understands differences of opinion." Well, Lights, he has been rude to me a few times, you may have noticed. Not excessively, but he has a bit, and I've been rude to him back. Ultimately, like it or not, you are a perfect double act on these shows. I'm sure it's not just me who thinks so. So please invite Steve onto your radio show to discuss various things UFO related. It doesn't need to be a debate, just a chat about the views, no winners or losers. You're both great personalities and, in my opinion, respectful to each other. It would make a great show. Ben and Steve live. Oh, right. Well, I already have done that, Lights. Well, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. It was a few other people as well. And it was all right, but it did break down into an argument, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe if you put it that way, I'll think about it. And Light says, "Hi Ben, if we get an online petition together, will you show us a picture of you back in the day with hair?" Oh right, yeah, I remember this. I will see if I can find any actually. I'll see if I can find any. Because I know they've got like physical copies of them somewhere in an album, but I'd have to scan them in. But I'll see what I can do. If I can do it, I will, lights. Because I was very skinny. I was actually too skinny at one point. I had afro, I had big thick hair, yeah. Perry Stone says underneath, he was a hospital porter in 1983 for 3 months. He has obsessive personality disorder. Oh dear, Perry. So you're one of those, are you? Right, let's see. I don't think you're going to last very long on this channel. But anyway, I'll humour you for now. I was not a hospital porter in 1983 for 3 months. I was a hospital porter between 1988 and 2012 for 23 years. You obviously don't know that much about me. So, thing is, if you don't even know that, how do you know I have an obsessive personality disorder? Alright, moving on from that thread. What have we got now? We've got another thread now. Oh, Neil's here. This is going to be good. Reply to comments 80. It's completely pointless having Grush and Fravor and Graves testify. No, it's not. I mean, when was this? I don't know when this this comment exactly was placed, but it says 3 weeks ago. But we're now. What's the date now? The date today is the 14th of August. So it's actually less than 3 weeks. So this is before. This is actually before the you know what amazing. Sorry, you know what. It's nothing to do with the you know what. Before the amazing hearing, the great hearing. It's pointless having Rush and Graves testify. No, Steve, it is. It was absolutely essential that they testify. We've all heard their stories. None of them can provide any tangible evidence of ET visiting. Okay, well they can. And also, it doesn't matter that we've heard their stories. These things have to be presented to Congress, even though it's something everyone has heard before. In a congressional hearing, congressional hearing is about making it official, making this discussion official. You see, this is why if you're ever in trouble with the police, they interview you, they get all the evidence, but the evidence has to be presented in court. So it's all repeated to people who've already seen it before. The judge will have read the case notes. Both the barristers will have heard it. The defendant will have gone through it, both with his defence barrister and with the police. You know, things like everyone has heard it before, but it has to be done officially. Grush tells us he has no first-hand experience with ET materials, and Fravor and Graves were chasing a balloon. Right, Fravor and Graves were not chasing a balloon. No balloon can fly at supersonic speeds, and it can accelerate instantaneously, and many, many other things like that. Grush has interviewed himself over 40 people who do have first-hand experience with ET materials and have the forensic documentary evidence available. Otherwise, he would not have taken this to the IPCC. Sorry, not the IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change, the intelligence community. What's it called? You know what I mean. And they wouldn't have taken that complaint seriously. Inspector General, ICIG, whatever it is, PPC, ABC. You know what I mean. Paranormal Peep Show says, that's Neil. If they were chasing a balloon, firstly, they all somehow chased the balloon, misidentifying it. Secondly, the balloon had raced ahead to their meeting area and was waiting for them, kind of intelligent balloon. And he adds here on another comment, why would Grush make it all up? Please give a damn good reason why he goes on News Nation and says all that stuff and then goes to lie further at a congressional hearing. Yes, committing professional suicide, essentially. Destroying his reputation, possibly ending up in prison. And for what? Steve is not put off that easily. He comes back and retaliates. Do your research, Neil. When they got to the cap point, there was nothing there. This is because the cap point would have been programmed into the system. No, there was something there, though. That's the whole point. Graves and Fravor said it was there waiting for them. It was a system glitch that temporarily painted an object in that position. What do you mean? Oh, no, you're not saying there was something wrong with their sensors and that's all it was and things like that. That kind of bollocks has been used to try and explain away the Washington invasion and Milton Torres and people like that, even though there was visual sightings on this thing. Oh, Steve, really? You can do better than that. Are you capable of a simple bit of trigonometry? Use the numbers on the F-18's head-up display in the Tic Tac video to calculate the altitude of the Tic Tac. If you're any good at it, you'll find it was at 13,800 feet. No, that's not the Tic Tac video. There is no published Tic Tac video. That was the Go Fast. That was different. And it was moving very slowly. It was moving at about 40 knots, which is roughly wind speed, but that doesn't mean that. So that doesn't mean that the guys were lying about it. It was high and slow, not low and fast. It was lighter than an air surveillance vehicle, a balloon. No. Steve, listen, you're saying, well, the video was all there was, but the video was not all there was. Steve says to Neil, I don't think Grush is making it all up. I think he's a UFO fanboy like Ben here. What? He's a UFO fanboy. He was delivering reports to the president. He was very, very highly regarded. I mean, he reached a very high level of seniority at quite a young age. And he's a UFO fanboy? Don't be daft. I mean, you know, they made a joke in the previous hearing with Ronald Moultrie about how he's into science fiction. He goes to science fiction conventions. But now, come on. He really believes all the bullshit that he's been fed by Elizondo and the rest of the Bigelow TTSA nutters. Steve, this is really old hat now. There was this theory going around. I know that Matt Cambion was going on about it. I think Green Street mentioned it. Oh, who are these secret insiders that David Grush has come across? Well, he seems to be friends with Lou Elizondo, and Elizondo is always tweeting how good he is. Well, it must be Elizondo who's feeding him this. Elizondo must be the guy who's giving him all this information that he's ruining his entire career to present. Over 40 witnesses? You just listen to what the guy says. 40. Well, there's Bigelow, Elizondo, TTSA nutters. Well, the TTSA has drained of a lot of its best members, but there's still about a handful of them left. I think Semivan is still in it. Tom DeLonge, of course, put off. But there's only about 6 of them left, so that's 8. You got to find another 32, and then you have to explain why it doesn't fit in what Grush has said at the hearing, and what he said to News Nation doesn't fit in with what these people have been told. He won't be lying at the hearing if he really believes what he's saying. Correct, and he didn't. He tried to peddle this nonsense to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp at the Star Trek convention. Believe it or not, they turned him down, so he went to Coulter. Oh dear, that hasn't aged very well, has it, Steve? That comment hasn't aged very well. Since you actually posted that comment, Corbell and Knapp have actually made a video explaining about their relationship with David Grush, and indeed they even took a call from him in the studio. Well, they didn't broadcast it, but they did. Can you imagine Corbell and Knapp turning him down? Lol. What does that say for his credibility? Dr. Fitzpatrick, head of Arrow, wasn't interested in his story. What does that tell you about his credibility? If by his you mean Fitzpatrick, not a lot. It's Kirkpatrick, not a lot. Kirkpatrick's now spat his dummy out over the whole thing because he suddenly realised the same thing that J. Allen Hynek did. That he's not the Mr. UFO know-it-all after all. He's there to present an image to the public, and he doesn't like it. Now, well, first of all, right, it wasn't a Star Trek convention, I think. It was something, what was it? I can't remember. Also, you say, so you don't even know specifically what the full story is here, is it? Well, something I was going to make another comment. Where was it? I can't. It'll come back. I'm sure Steve will repeat himself at some point. Neil says to Steve, why would they not come to the balloon conclusion either if they have all the data? They would have written it off that afternoon. Yeah. Too right. Steve replies to Neil, ask them. No, we're asking you, Steve, because you're the one making the assertion. I would bet Arrow have already done that and dismissed the story. Steve! Arrow are not even getting the full story. This is why Kirkpatrick is getting so arsey about it. Grush says Dr. Kirkpatrick has my phone number. He can contact me any time. For whatever reason, he hasn't. And this, I mean, I got a feeling something's going on behind the scenes here, but who knows? Who knows? But anyway, he says the numbers don't lie. Try them for yourself. I'm sure you can find someone who's reasonably intelligent to do the maths for you. Steve, Neil is perfectly capable of doing that himself. And Neil's not to be put off, he says to Steve. So you calculate the balloon at a certain height. The planes were at the same height, but that still means they're planes. Yeah, yes, exactly. The calculations only tell you the height. It does not say it's a balloon. Only trained airmen at that speed would know it's a balloon. If it were a balloon, why did they not shoot it down? Yeah, we're dealing with an object. We're still dealing with an unknown object, Steve. It looks like it's going faster than it is. That's true. It looks like it's at sea level. It's a perspective thing. The image is not there to take pretty pictures. The image it's a gun camera. It's there to identify targets and provide firing solutions. So it's sort of grayscale, low resolution. You know. Steve says to Neil, "Again, you show your complete ignorance, just like you do with Apollo. The aircraft head-up display shows the look-down angle. It also shows the altitude of the aircraft, which is not the same as the balloon. It also shows the aircraft speed and the time of the track. The tic-tac was high and slow. This is the opposite of what they reported. No, that's not the tic-tac, Steve. That's an object in a different time in a different place. The tic-tac was down it started near the surface, and there was some disturbed water, as if there was like a submarine just below the surface. And then it's immediately shot away. It's been turned into an animation. You can go and see it yourself. They wouldn't be familiar with flying past a near stationary object when they were at high speed. It would have given them the impression it was travelling fast towards them. Why would they shoot it down? They thought it was ET, didn't they? They never said what it was. God, how long does this bloody thread go on for? Neil says to Steve, so to this day the pilots never once asked ground radar or the other planes to check the tic-tac shaped balloon. Actually, this is quite a good thread. Yes, of course it was the Princeton actually had a radar lock on it, as the witnesses there, Sean Cahill and Gary Verhees, has said. Surely a few might have said, we can confirm it's not a balloon. What sort of balloon would be tic-tac shaped if it were a balloon? Oh, there are balloons that have that kind of capsule-shaped profile, but not ones that can maneuver and have the features, including the signature management. Let's not forget that it's emitting radiation, electromagnetic radiation. Steve Mumbling says, research the story. An airship is a large tic-tac shaped balloon, isn't it? Not quite. Airships tend to be kind of teardrop shaped because they have to be streamlined, because they have to move through the air, rather than a balloon like just a normal aerostat, which is actually blown by the wind. Can it be any shape? Why wouldn't a small airship be tic-tac shaped? Well, and anyway, we'll come back to that. Neil says to Steve, come back and explain why Grush would make it all up, and then swear on oath to Congress as well. Yeah, so he has. This was. Neil at this point I don't think knew. We didn't know he was actually going to swear an oath, but he did. He did. We found that out later, didn't we, Neil? Yeah, he did actually swear an oath. They all did. Most balloons for weather... Sorry, I'm giving Neil a Steve Mumbling's voice. Most balloons for weather research and such tend to be huge sphere-shaped things. So why would trained airmen mistake this object? Come to think of it, why did a priest in Papua New Guinea, along with 32 other witnesses, go on the record after sighting a saucer-shaped object hovering near their church building, lie, and claim they waved humanoids on the saucer and they waved back? Oh, hold on, you're going to tell me it was a VW somehow levitating in a storm and the passengers were actually not waving but rolling about? Maybe they were rolling about laughing after reading a Steve Mumbling blog. Brilliant comment, Steve. Brilliant. Yeah, Steve is referring to this very interesting case that happened there. It was in 1950 something. A mission in Papua New Guinea, in the island of Papua New Guinea, in a remote area, saw literally a saucer-shaped object. It had some kind of viewing platform on the top where there were humanoids, and they literally waved to each other. It's really weird. Oh, you're going to tell me it was a VW levitating? Oh, right. Neil is going into. Now, regular viewers will get that joke because this was Steve's remarkable conclusion. That this was what explained the sighting at Rua, Zimbabwe, by children in 1994. Yeah. Steve committed the perfect clown's day off fallacy with that one. He really did. In my skeptic video I explain what I mean by just making something up and putting it in there as an explanation and thinking, well, it doesn't involve aliens, so it just wins by default. It doesn't matter if I imagined it. It doesn't matter if I've got no evidence. I've thought of something which doesn't involve aliens. I win. Neil says this. We've seen that, by the way. We've seen a perfect clown's day off fallacy lately. It's the miners, isn't it, in Peru? There's these illegal miners. I mean, if I hadn't been away, I'd probably done an entire live stream about this. There's been incidents in Peru with aliens, apparently attacking the villagers like they did in Colares. And the skeptics have come forward and said, no, it's illegal miners harassing the local people to get them off the land so they can start an unlicensed mining. Now, this is a big problem in Brazil, and Peru for that matter, because even though the jungle areas, the Amazon jungle, is protected by law for the sake of the environment and for the indigenous rights of the native people, a lot of mining companies ignore that and they just go in and set up mines anyway, and the government's too corrupt to stop them and enforce the law. And they very often harass the local villagers. There's stories of they assault the people sometimes, they steal property, livestock from farms, that sort of thing. Occasionally they'll attack buildings and burn them, things like that. But in this case, right, the aliens, someone came up and said, the aliens, they were just these illegal miners. These prospectors moved in and they wanted to get the people out. So they flew around on jetpacks dressed as aliens. And there's no evidence for this at all. They're quoting they're quoting a second or third hand police report from the local station, which is like 20 miles away. And all the skeptics are saying, there we go, non-ET explanation, case closed. And of course the backslappers, I'm sure Cambion and alien scientists and all these backslappers will be like jumping on that bandwagon. But that's an absolutely perfect clown's day off fallacy. Oh, by the way, I'm going to record. I haven't done the live stream I would have done if I've been away at the Awake and Aware. Otherwise, I'd have probably done a live stream about it. But Christina Gomez has done a very good show about it, and I'm going to cover it on this week's Third Rail Radio, just to let you know, with Trevor Murray. Neil says to Steve, the radar op was the one that scrambled Fravor to investigate the Tic Tac. In fact, it was like a group of them. Sounds a bit odd for balloons. Why did they report the radar tapes missing after the encounter? You must watch the congressional hearings by now. And Fravor has gone into details about it. I still think him and all the ships with their vast experience think it balloons. Think it was balloons. Yeah, this thread has gone on a long time, because you can see here, this is 2 weeks ago. I think this thread has gone on for maybe a couple of weeks, and by the time we've got here, Neil has decided he has watched the hearings, and of course, this automatically proves a lot of what Steve said before wrong. Perry Stone says underneath, Conspiro, and it says also to Neil, why are you obsessed with fantasies? Wake up to reality. This is a stupid, silly little comment that doesn't say anything. It doesn't make anything. You could apply that to anything, Perry. I could say, violets are blue, and you could say, why are you obsessed with fantasies that violets are blue? Wake up to reality. Does that mean violets are not blue? Are violets yellow? And Neil says to him, I think you need the wake-up call. Then Neil says to Perry, I think you need to reassess your own reality, talking about cows. Well, I didn't... that's a good thread. It turned out to be a good thread. Lasted quite a long time. I think that covered several weeks, that thread. And it was pretty good. Right, Steve Mumbling says here on AT, Grush isn't going to sacrifice his career, as he's now a civilian selling real estate. He won't have any problems relating his story to Congress, as he's all going to say, so-and-so told me this. All right, well, firstly, yes, he has been a civilian for the last few months. He left service, but he he still has a reputation, not least because he's gonna have a kind of infamy about it himself, which is going to affect any other jobs. He may not want to be an estate agent forever. He may want to go back into government service. He may want to do another job within the military or intelligence community. He's setting himself up. Now, Steve, this is 3 weeks ago. You don't know this. You didn't know this at the time. But some twat journalist has just published a whole load of information about David Grush's medical records. Now, that is an absolutely textbook and very, very despicable, low, and really unbelievably cruel attempt to smear him. I think Coulthard warned him this might happen, which is what I think that's why he deleted. I think he may well have deleted his social media because of that, because he was being told this would happen. Perry Stone says, yes, conspiracy theories make up everything up by magic. Yes, Perry Stone, mathematicians make up the 2 + 2 = 4 like magic. There you go. Proved you wrong. I proved everyone wrong who says 2 + 2 = 4. AT, Stephen Truthseeker. Harry Price looks like an untrustworthy government disinformation agent. I was expecting a grandfather figure. He has this kind of like, he's known to be very charismatic. He had this sly appearance, and he's got those photos of him smoking a pipe like that, looking very enigmatic. I don't think he was a government disinformation agent. I think he fell under the spell of the skeptics quite a lot, but he wasn't a complete skeptic. He did Borley Rectory. He did say there are real ghosts. He just says they're rarer than most people think. Excuse me. I wouldn't trust him though. I mean, the stuff, his Helen Duncan research is just bloody awful. I'm reading a book now, by the way. You might like this, Stephen. Actually, you can see it. It's I'm reading this book, The Lost Village by Neil Spring. It actually did come up in one of my Devon videos, and I managed to get a copy of it. It actually includes Harry Price as one of the characters, which of course is he's a real person, but he's a real person. But I've put real people into my stories. People like John F. Kennedy, people like that have been in my books from the Roswell trilogy. You might like this book actually. Steve Mumbling says on AT, Coulthard ghosted you because he doesn't want to be associated with a UFO fanboy that has such a poor grip on reality. Well, firstly, he may have thought I was a little bit too extreme for him, and but you may have thought that. But really, Steve, I thought you yourself said that Coulthard himself was a UFO fanboy, had no such poor grip on reality. I thought you said that. I mean, people are always slagging off Coulthard. I mean, Cambian's always going on. Cambian is always moaning, saying things like, Coulthard was discredited as a journalist. I mean, it's almost like an instinct now. The skeptics and the backslappers have kind of joined forces so much that they just come out with the same kind of pattern of behaviour. Someone says something about UFOs, they'll come forward and say they've been discredited in one way or another. Coulthard now has a Wikipedia page that mentions no such discreditation. They claim he falsely accused some MPs of crimes against children. Well, we found out since then that Ted Heath and Cyril Smith did. They were very senior. I mean, Ted Heath was Prime Minister for a few years. They did. There was elements that had been investigated, but nothing was done about it. So I don't know exactly what you mean here. It's kind of an internal contradiction in what you've said. John Nolan says the racist needs to worry more about their local drug pushers and knife scum walking the streets. Right. I don't know exactly what you mean there. I don't know I'm not sure exactly what you know, what you're talking about there, John. John Nolan also says on AT, Miles Johnston knows where a large UFO is buried. Well, he mentioned, funny enough, he mentioned this in his talk. I mean, this is a future video. This is a kind of spoiler for a future video, one that's coming up quite soon. Actually, I'm going to upload it edit and upload it in a few days. At Churhill, Wiltshire, he claims there's one buried there. Neil says, where a large UFO is buried, I think you mean to say where? Oh, right, he says, yeah, because John puts "we're," I think by mistake, is an abbreviation of "we are." Interesting about a buried UFO story, though. Thanks for reporting this. Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like to know where it is, but Ross is being his usual cagey self. I mean, he doesn't know how to play the audience. What's this? What's this? Here's right.
Well, hello again.
Oh, it's Steve. Another Steve video.
About Ross Coulthard's, alien spacecraft that's so large it couldn't be recovered.
Hidden crashed alien spacecraft. This is 23 minutes long.
And they had to put a building over it, and there is speculation that this is what's been built over it.
All right, Steve. Okay. I mean, I don't have time to watch all this video now. I'm guessing that what you're showing us here is the big dome in the Bikini Atoll, right? Is that you can say? I think I recognise this thing here. When there was during the H-bomb test in the early 50s, they had a massive clean-up operation afterwards, and they basically all the topsoil and sand was taken off the beach, and it was buried under a huge dome with concrete because it's all radioactive and it will be for a very long time. So, well, I mean, they put a massive concrete dome that's supposed to last for 10,000 years. Apparently, it's already cracking. Every time there's a typhoon, the cracks get larger. It looks like they're going to have to build another one now. But it does look kind of saucer-shaped, yeah. If that's what that is, yeah. You can correct me. I'm not watching a 23-minute video right now. I'll watch it later. Perry Stone says to Neil, Johnson is a liar and deceiver. He talks total nonsense. You are sad to believe him, a sad person. God, what a stupid thing to say. What a stupid thing. Now, Neil hasn't replied here, but you are free to reply, Perry. This comment was only left 16 hours ago, so Neil, you're free to reply to that and say what you think. But Perry's not far off getting blocked now, I tell you. Again, you're attacking someone who's a friend of mine, calling him a liar and deceiver, talking total nonsense. You don't even explain why. It's literally just 4 sentences here with no. There's no evidence, there's no point made here. It's just, you've done this again and again, Perry. You've done this again and again and again. You just make an assertion without anything. Completely skeletal statement without any flesh on the bones explaining why. I think you're starting to sound familiar, and I think you're not going to last long on this channel. I'm going to wait and see how you get on. Anyway, let's move on. Stephen Trueseeker says on 3 my hometown of Liverpool. That's right, buddy. Yeah, I went through there, Stephen, on the way back. That's right. And the crafty nihilist says, "Happy 80th birthday, Ben." Yeah. Oh yes, I'm 80 years old. Well, I'm glad I'm not aging at the same rate as this project because this is the 81st now. The 81st comment reply video. Steve-O says 100. Oh, thanks. And I'm thinking it might be Steve-O 71. 100th, right? You get the 100th. You get the 100th tinfoil hat. I'll have to get another roll of foil, I think. Mongoose Man Part 2 or 3. Dark Corners. UK says about the weather. The weather on the Isle of Man reminds me of every single British summer holiday I ever had as a kid. Yes. Ethel Reader says, haha, yes. Yeah, it's Dark Corners. It was very British, even though it's not Britain. We had every kind of weather imaginable, I think, there, yeah. It was not, apart from cold. Dark Corners says, has anyone ever told you look like a young Marlon Brando? Oh my goodness me. Am I really as sort of like classically handsome as him? I expect I am, But thank you. Well, people have often said I look like an older Marlon Brando, especially like he was in Apocalypse Now when he's got this he's washing his face and there's this sunlight, these like really spooky like bits of light playing all over his head. It's a really amazing scene, and I actually did that. I look like that myself in one of the videos, one of the Brexit videos, yeah. Mongoose Man Part 3 of 3, Dark Corners. Another fantastic reportage, Ben. I really enjoyed this 3-part adventure. Thank you, Dark Corners. I'm glad you did. I replied to comments 80. And we have here the crafty nihilist Says, oh, there's a timestamp here, 1:33:05. The fuck do you know about my life, Yossela Kermit? Firstly, you don't know how much I charge. I am self-employed. Alright, what's this? Crafty says, when you get riled, they love it, Ben. We know who this is. Weak old account again. They're after a reaction, like at school. Makes me sad you give them one. And I actually did, and Dark Corner says here, don't feed the trolls. I remember this now because I actually put a text comment in here. Thanks, CN, but it's okay. I've blocked him now. Yes, I think I know who he is. And what's more, I think this person has come back, and yep, they're going to be. I'm going to have to do the same thing again. David Smith says here, I'd skip over the comments like that in future, but then not worth the time replying to. Well, I actually have. I did actually block that person, David. In fact, it's funny you should mention that because Perry Stone says to me, "Censoring again? You don't believe in free speech? Hypocrite, Ben." What? Let's have. I'm going to have a look at your channel, shall we, Perry? I think the time's come to have a look at your channel. I think you're going to. Crafty Nice is going to like this bit. Let's have a look at you. What have we here? Opening a new tab. Perry Stone, 3 subscribers, 57 videos. All right. Okay, so it's mostly shorts here. All right, well, that surprised me, Perry. I was expecting to it be another week-old blank channel, but no, right, okay. But you say here, firstly, this is a really, really silly misrepresentation here. Censoring again, you don't believe in free speech. So it's like they do this bait and switch. They wind me up to the point where I get angry and I start deleting comments and things like that, and they say, "Oh, he doesn't believe in free speech. What a hypocrite." It's a stupid bait and switch. It's very transparent, and I don't think you're not. I'm surprised your channel's not not blank, but you're still better improve your conduct or you'll be gone. AT, Jam Noise 72. Morning, bro. Morning, sis. How you doing? Mwah. Have a nice day, soul sister. Mongoose Man 3, Dark Corners UK. I'm reminded of the saying, like flies around shit. Well, I'm surprised one of the skeptics hasn't come out with that, but right, dear, what's this? There's a comment by Charles Scott. I blocked him. Why can't I see this comment? It's possible you lot can't see it. Maybe YouTube have changed the system. Alright, Charles Scott says this channel doesn't have any content. Right, I'm just going to go and let's just see. Report user. Hide profile. How you hide user from my channel. I've done that! Hide user from my channel. I think that's the new word for blocking. So, hide existing and future comments from this user. Alright, I'll do it again. I've already done that! And I click it again. It says, hide user from my channel. Bloody hid him. What's going on? How do I block this bastard? Because, I mean, let me know, right? Can you see, on reply to comment 79, can you see Charles Scott's comment? Because you shouldn't, because I blocked him. Right, anyway, obviously I'm not reading it out. Can I delete it? Yeah, it says remove, so I'll remove it. Okay. Why? How can he even post it at all? He's got another one here. How come I'm removing this one as well. How come he even posted? I don't get it. Anyway, let's move on. Dark Corner says, I can't say I'm disappointed to see the back of that Charles Gimp. What an absolute plonker. Yeah, too right. Jam Noise laughs. This is an old my St. Theo's video. This is when I was paying tribute to George Rogers. He was a former senior porter. Okay. And Popcorn Boxing says, R.I.P. George Rogers. Can you give any more details on him? Sound like he retired about the right time from hospital portering. This is St. Theo's one, George Rogers. This is an old St. Theo's video. He was a guy. He actually was a senior porter he was on the desk when I started, and I sort of got to know him quite well. He was just sort of rather rough around the edges Scottish guy. Could be difficult at times. He's partly inspired my character Warren in Evans Land, I must admit. But he's generally I respected him. I found him professional, and he looked after his men. Even though he could be we all felt the sharp edge of his tongue a few times, and he did retire, and then later he died, and this was just before I made this video. So yeah, I can't. He was a bald guy with thick glasses. I remember, very heavy Scottish accent. Yeah. Dark Corners says on reply to comments 80, happy 80th, here's to many more. Thanks very much, Dark Corners. Well, here's another one already. So this project continues. Jamnoy72 says on reply to comments 80, I can't help but giggle because you took a sleeping bag. Yes. Did you not check the place out online before going? The house is lovely inside. Yeah, I didn't check it enough. I just heard it was a self-catering cottage, and I don't know where I got the idea you need. I don't know. You need some kind of sleep. You need to bring sleeping gear as well. But anyway, it's all's well ends well. I ended up sort of like not needing it, and it was quite nice that I didn't need it. Perry Stone says Ben is dumb. Oh right, I'm getting rid of this person. I've had enough of you. Okay, so I don't know if I'll be able to do this the way. Because I'm now going to block Perry Stone. Hide user from my channel. Right, okay. Hide existing and future comments from this user on my channel. There we go. Now, this didn't work with Charles Scott, so I don't know if it's going to work with Perry. But anyway, let's see what you do. I will ignore any other comments that Perry posts, which I can still see, obviously, because he or she, I think it's a he, is blocked now. Reply to comments 80, Emlyn-Jones says, hey Rhiannon, how you doing? I have to disagree with the idea that the majority of the public would not be totally freaked out if the government were to announce that aliens were amongst us. Look at how the world's population have been controlled and terrified by the rebranding of the common cold. Maybe having been so familiar with the concept of disclosure for a long period of time dulls the sense of terror which the average person who is used to having the government take care of everything would feel if it were to happen. It could be that's yeah. I mean, I think you and I probably disagree on how much the freakouts would happen. Obviously, some people would be, but I haven't actually talked. I have talked about this on social media. I was going to write an article about this. I probably will. That my dad asked me a question about UFOs, and I was surprised. Firstly, that he did that after I stopped discussing with him 20 years ago because I just didn't want to fall out with him. And secondly, he just was quite nonchalant about the whole thing. So I think time will tell. I think time will tell. Reply to comments 80, Popcorn Boxing. Good video. Thank you, Popcorn. Yeah. It's an interesting thing about how would people react in certain situations. We'll talk about that in more detail another time, Rihanna, certainly. A Mongoose and Man 3 of 3. I'm really interested in your ship tracking. Is it a free app? Yes, you could just read it in a browser. It's very interesting. I find it very fascinating. I mean, especially for someone like me who has a natural interest in ships and the sea. I spend quite a lot of time on it. Yeah. Reply to comments 80. TRUK says, who is known to have said underwater cables, there's your satellites? Who is known to have said that? I don't know. Underwater cables, there's your satellites. It may be someone who believes, maybe it may have been me actually on the St. Helena video where I talked the St. Helena airport video where I talked about the cable they want to put St. Helena on transatlantic cable so that it can have full internet access, because at the moment it has very poor internet access because it's reliant on a very rather poor quality satellite connection. So yeah, so maybe it was me. Anyway, you tell me. Mongoose and Man 3 of 3, Popcorn Boxing. Why is a toilet availability sign indicative of a change in the times? Well, did I say that? There's a timestamp. What did I actually say about this? Taking its time. This is the sign that made Jackie laugh. Toilet available. Yeah. Of course, they've had to change the time. All right, this is outside the church. Right. Wasn't sure what you meant there. I'm glad I clicked the link because I've been very impressed on the Isle of Man about how many public toilets there are. They're everywhere. I mean, even small villages have at least 2 or 3. I think the Signs of the Times was, as you know if you watch the video, part 3 of Mongoose and Man. I find a little church, the church in Dolby. It's actually the church where the Voorhees family, the Irving family, used to attend every Sunday. It's still a church, and it still has a nave and it has a pulpit and things. But half the church has been converted into a kind of community centre, and lots of churches have done this because it's the only way they can survive. They've had to alter their business model to take account of falling congregations, and they have to open up to become a secular hub. And that church has done it very well, I must say, very well indeed. It was a very nice church. I mean, they had oops, that's the end of the first hour. And the Dolby Church has done it very well indeed. And as you can see, because I film inside there, there's you can have a cup of tea, coffee, a drink. There's books and things you can buy. Yeah, it was very, very nice indeed. Anyway, guys, thanks Popcorn Boxing. I'll be back shortly with part 2. Okay, then here we go for part 2 of this comment reply video number 80. So, yeah, so I've just been texting a friend to have a laugh about how I just blocked another troll. All right, then, guys. Let's just go back to here. I'm just having a look at the progress I've made so far. I think it's going to be longer than I thought. This is going to be a 2-parter, I think. It's not surprising. It's been longer than usual since the last reply to comments video, which is kind of inevitable because of well, basically it's because I've been away so much. Ethel Reader says on Mongoose and Man part 2 of 3, this brought back memories of seeing that little train again. We went on holiday there with my grandparents in the late 70s, and I sat next to Jeff Duke on the little aeroplane on the way over. All right, I don't know who Jeff Duke is, Ethel Reader. You can actually fly to the Isle of Man. It's more fun to get the boat or the ferry, but well, if it's obviously not if it's the Sea Cat, but if it's the traditional ferry, yeah. All right, Popcorn Boxing. I gave Popcorn Boxing a laugh here, but thanks for that, Ethel Reader. There's a timestamp here. I'm just going to click on it. I gave him a laugh here. Klaus Schwab, I've eaten the bugs. Lol. Let's have a look. I think I know what this is. The wall. I just inhaled a fly. Luckily, it didn't go down the wrong way. It went. I've eaten a fly. So I've done what Klaus Schwab wants. I've eaten the bugs, or at least one bug, and they're crawling over the camera now again. Yeah. So it's up that way. But I was not happy. I ate the bug, but I was not happy. Yeah. Okay, Gary Robinson says on reply to comments 80. Hi Ben, sorry I've not left any comments recently. I've been mad busy with work, and I've also just moved back to the UK for a while, so I can have a break from the noise and hassle of Mexico. Been watching your Isle of Man videos, but need to give them a second listen to take it all in. Hopefully we can get a pint in while I'm here. Pride and Dignity brother. Pride and Dignity Gary. I know you've been busy, you've been on Apollo Detectives. But yeah, let us know when you're around. It'd be great to meet you at last, while you're here in the country. Popcorn Boxing says on Mongoose and Man 3 of 3. Sorry you had a bad meal at the Marine Hotel. The reviews seem okay. Alright, well it was... yeah, it wasn't the best. Richard obviously hated his more, but mine was sort of like passable, but Richard's... well, I don't know, I think it might have been passable, but it wasn't a very nice passing, shall we say. Judging by the noises coming from the toilet that night, I'll tell you. Reply to comments 80, Keith McLaren 1972. Disclosure is real, guys, and we are not alone. It was only allowed to be hidden for 75 years, so 1947 plus 75 is 2022. That's right. That's right. Exactly. I think that's very interesting. It seems to be very... It's like an entire human lifetime it's lasted. Popcorn Boxing says on Mongoose 3 of 3, just wear your glasses when you need them, Ben. Don't become too glasses reliant. Oh, yeah, exactly, Popcorn. Firstly, I mean, it's actually difficult to... It's difficult to wear them like at work. I mean, my long distance lenses at work. And I wear these are all right. I wear them for the computer. I can't read with them though. I need naked eyes to read. But yeah. Steve-O says on... oh, this is RDH Panorama livestream, yes. How dare the BBC feign compassion for the victims of a false flag when they have harboured the likes of Bimmy Javel, and yes, we know you mean there, and many more for over 50 years. I'm glad that I chucked my licence back at them years ago. This is all about trying to demonise RDH, to put fear into anyone else uncovering the corrupt elites. Exactly, Steve, yes. Exactly, and Richard is standing up to them very bravely. He's just published a new article on his website, so yeah, do check that out. Mongoose 3 of 3. Oh no, hope all was okay with your daughter. Oh, it was, thanks Popcorn. I think I was a bit oversensitive about it because I was worried because I was out of touch with her because of mobile phone signals. I was just like a bit nervous. I've always been like that. Okay, so but thanks, everything's fine. Yeah. And Steve Mumbling says on reply to comments 80. I can't download the Apollo photos myself, quote unquote, as I need the image numbers. Neil won't provide them because the images are doctored to support your ridiculous narrative. We've been there, done that, Steve. Steve, the day after I kicked your asses, we kicked yours, Steve. We kicked yours in the touch, mate. You did a live stream where you appeared like a whipped dog. You deleted the video almost immediately. Why don't you just admit the truth for once and tell everyone you lost? What do you talk, Steve? We didn't. The live stream you're talking about, right? Well, I wasn't in it for a start. It was somebody else. I think it was whose channel was it? I think it was Scott's channel. I think. It wasn't Jara's. But anyway, we weren't like whipped dogs. I mean, I watched the videos, and there was no whipping dog. It was a kind of debrief of the debate where we assert that we actually won that debate. Popcorn Boxing says Mongoose 3 of 3. Superb. Enjoyed all 3 parts. Thanks, Popcorn. Much appreciated. And we have here Mongoose 2. Spaceman 87186 says, hi Ben, I enjoyed your visit to Summer Isle. One of your best. A great watch. Thanks. Great watch. Cheers. Thanks very much, Spaceman. Luckily it wasn't Summer Isle, otherwise, or you'd probably ended up being burnt in some kind of wooden cage. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And now we come on to a new video, Dorset Earth Mysteries 2, The Last Witch. Lol, I like the declassifieds ads bit in Nexus. Pretty funny. Yeah, they've always had that. Yeah. It was very funny. I have an ad in there every month, as you know, for my books. We have Popcorn Boxing with a timestamp here. That's Bruce Dickinson. What's he mean? Let's have a look.
Well, I'm here with Neil. You know Neil. Hello, everybody.
He does look a bit like the old. He does look like him, actually. The lead frontman for Iron Maiden. Yes. Dorset Earth Mysteries 2. Wayne Model Builder says, I love your videos, fella, but seriously, you need to get a bit of sun on that head. It's blinding white, lol. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Wayne. Yes, it's actually, I do work outdoors and I wear a hat, which means there's a very pronounced suntan difference between the two. But yeah, it just hurts really much. Like to get the sun on my head is really painful. So I sort of put up with just wearing a hat. And Mongoose and Man 3. Jam Noise 72. I was enjoying this until you turned into Victor Meldrew towards the end. I don't believe it, I said. Oh, that's when I was moaning about ferries. Yeah, I had a little bit of a rant. All right, where we are now. It's Gary. Gary Robinson says here. Ben, mate, I'm watching a new show on Apple TV called Platonic, which is a fairly average US sitcom with Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen. In the 9th episode, they quite randomly drop a UFO-related scene into the show. During a garden party, 2 of the characters witness a UFO from the roof of their house as they're fixing some lights. What follows is a scene where they announce the sighting to other guests, only to be ridiculed in a scene that felt like it was designed to make people think twice about discussing woo subjects with other people. All right. A number of classic skeptic arguments are thrown in, which made me laugh. They even used the term UAP as well. Cheers. And I actually put a text comment onto this. Oh my God, not seen it. But for it to be added so randomly, I wonder why. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, they slip these little messages in, don't they? Yeah. And Gary says underneath here, they ended the series with a scene in which the 2 characters reminisce about the sighting. You really have to wonder why that was. Yeah. Good point, yeah. And there's 3 of 3, Mongoose 3 of 3, Blue Wolf. 44 minutes in, I sensed this is Colin. I sensed a Dr. Jonathan Reed moment. Yes, I was panting. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yes. Was I going to come across some sort of obelisk in the ground? Okay, Dorset Earth Mysteries, The Last Witch. Blue Wool says here, Wool, I was expecting at least a reference, Ben. Oh, right, so did I miss that? Did I miss that joke? Steve says, Colin, I hope you get another weekend of Woo with Ben soon, says Steve-O. Yeah, and well, you know what? Colin did. And no doubt we'll have some more. So Blue Wool says on Dorset Earth Mysteries, the dog statue looks like Falkor from Neverending Story. Oh, right. Oh, that's that dragon thing, isn't it? It's called a dragon. It looks like a doggy. I remember that. I'm not sure exactly which one you meant there, but yeah. Oh, that was the one. Oh, I know. That was the one. Those carvings, wasn't it? Those sculptures. Yeah. Reply to comments 80. Stephen Trueseeker. Ben, I no longer live in the Wirral, mate. Okay, Stephen. Thanks for letting me know. Oh, I remember you lived in Salisbury for a while. I know you sort of were around. I knew you come from there, but you were around the place. Last Witch, Mr. Jason Sean. I think that's what it is. You did a great job, Ben. The case of Helen Duncan is a fascinating one. Thank you very much, Jason. Much appreciated. Right, popcorn boxing. All right, 224.27. Here we go.
Arc of them.
And these things with the force of the thrust, which is almost like.
Oh right. Oh, this is this bit here. I'll just show you briefly. It's this scene here.
Thrust.
The recoil, yeah, which is
recoil. It has to go far back, so the wall goes.
Right. That is right. So there's a comment about that. Popcorn Boxy says, how did the cannon work? Because surely the ball would have just hit the iron bars. Right. Yeah. I have a feeling. Popcorn Boxing. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. I have a distinct feeling that those bars were installed after the fort was closed to prevent silly tourists like me from climbing out and falling to our deaths. I just think that. Anyway, right, Mongoose Man 2. Whoops. We have a timestamp here with the Crafty Nihilist. Harry Krishna, here, my sweet lord. What's this? Let's have a look.
Eerie Cushlin.
Oh, right.
Guys.
Eerie Cushlin, yes. It's Harry Krishna, Eerie Cushlin. But yeah, it sounds similar, doesn't it? Mongoose 3, Crafty. Sorry, Ben. Oh, right, now, this is something we have corrected. Crafty Nihilist says, sorry, Ben, but Reverend Audrey was inspired to write Thomas the Tank Engine because he lived in Box. I'll show you one of the houses he lived in tomorrow near our house and near the Box Tunnel. And indeed, Crafty, I've made a subsequent video in which you do precisely that. So yeah, so that I was corrected on that matter. UFO Disclosure 2023, waiting for the hearing. Stephen Trueseeker says, I believe all this disclosure is designed to brainwash the public further. Stephen, I think you're probably wrong, but I can't rule it out right now. It's a problem. I can't rule out the possibility that is exactly what's going on. It's some kind of massive confidence trick. Steve-O says, what will come first, Ben? Disclosure or Capel Green? Oh, disclosure, definitely, Steve-O, because that will probably happen. It could happen this autumn. Steve Bassett, he says disclosure will come before everything. And, you know, I've always laughed at him a bit, but I think, you never know. Dark Corner says, at this point, I think we'll find Jimmy Hoffa before we see Capel Green. Jimmy Hoffa, of course, was the famous trade unionist from the United States, who was he disappeared. I mean, there's every reason to believe he was murdered, but his body's never been found. So, big mystery there. They might dig him up one day. But, you know, Capel Green, as I've explained, Capel Green is a film made by a filmmaker who wants to do things according to his experience within the film industry. But the people he's worked with are ufologists who want to get a video out about ufology, basically. And as a result, there's been a clash, which you kind of is kind of predictable. But Cable Green will appear. It will. I mean, a lot of work's gone into it. It's still an active project. It's not been cancelled, and it won't be cancelled now. Not so late in the project. So. Steve-O says to Dark Corners, I think Ben will get an interview with the British Bigfoot before it's released. Oh, yeah, well, I think that's possible. Well, if that opportunity comes up, I will take it. Neil says on Waiting for the Hearing, we officially announced more air balloons recovered. Oh, well, luckily, Neil, as David Splendid Isolation says here, we're well beyond that now. Finally, yes. Finally, we've moved past that stage of stupidity, and we can move forward. Huge amount of progress was made at this hearing. Huge amount. Stephen Garrity says, sick of waiting. This is going to be the one hope. So, well, it's not the only hope, Stephen, but yeah, I mean, we've waited a long time for this, haven't we? We've waited a hell of a long time for this. Andrew Munchkin says on Waiting for Hearing, disclosure, Ben, the governments of the world are taken over and they lie non-stop. Amazing how you believe they will tell the truth about UFOs or anything else for that matter. Well, Andrew, as I explained in the video, I don't believe all the governments in the world are taken over anymore. I think that I think there's been a kind of backlash since 2016. Lemsip says on Occult Duran Duran Part 3 of 3, this is a really old one, this isn't. I found their videos sexist, so I went off them, especially Girls on Film. I saw the uncensored version recently, but at the time I saw only the censored version, which was bad enough. Right, I don't remember I know the song, Girls on Film, Girls on Film. So I don't remember the video, Lemsip. It was a long time ago, I was just a kid. I mean, that's the question is. Several artists were accused of sexism in those days for various videos that they did. Robert Palmer was another one with "Addicted to Love." However, the case with Robert Palmer's video was actually based on an artist. I think it was not. I can't remember who it was, but it was essentially Robert Palmer's video was essentially satirical. And it could be, but this is as well. I mean, I do think that modern media has become very one-dimensional, and things as subtle as satirical themes are very often ignored. And a good example is in Sickness and Health, where Warren Mitchell plays this old bigot, Alf Garnett, and the whole point of the series was to satirise the very silly ideas he had, but unfortunately, the BBC decided it was racist and sexist, so they banned it because they didn't really, whether they understood it or not, they ignored the satirical element to it. So now we have a media where everything is one-dimensional, and maybe that's one of the reasons why everything has gone downhill in the media. So I mean, I would have to watch the video to see and realise. But it would be worth just looking into the background to the video and the song to find out exactly what was the point they wanted to make. Denouncing things as sexist, I think, is just too easy to do, Lemsip. And I don't know exactly how much background research you've done, but please do so if you haven't. But thanks for the comment on such an old video. That's from like 15 years ago or something. Waiting for the Hearing, Patrick Patel. Hey, Patrick, good to see you again. Ben, I honestly can't wait. I love aliens and UFOs, but if they're nasty and they want to hurt us, then I'm deliberately not looking forward to meeting them. No, well, neither am I, Patrick. And see, some of them are. Luckily a minority. But I do believe, and I hope I don't meet any of those types of aliens. I don't think anyone would want to. However, even though some of them are a real threat to the well-being of humanity and planet Earth, this is not a reason to keep that fact from the people, I believe. So, yeah, I couldn't wait either. And he says, I hope you're keeping well, Ben, on another comment. I am, thanks, Patrick. I hope you are too. Thanks for commenting again. Mrs. Balloon says on UFO Disclosure 2023, Waiting for the Hearing, I love your optimism, Ben, and I love you. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Balloons. Don't tell Mr. Balloons. I enjoy every moment. These are exciting times. Yes, exactly. They are indeed very exciting. Waiting for the Hearing, user ID, and a series of letters and numbers. I don't know who this is. Funny how all this time they're becoming open to the theories that we've held for decades. Or is this a push? Or is this to push their next agenda after the P word? Disease, the alien invasion. That's the question, though, isn't it? User ID. That's what I want to know. I questioned everything before. I question and double question everything now. Thanks for all your hard work, Ben. Much appreciated. You're very welcome, User ID. And yeah, you've asked a good question. It's actually one that I do bring up in this video and several others. So yeah, it's definitely it's one that we need, something we need to know. A culture around 3 of 3. Oh, and this is the whole video. And it's Lemsip again. I remember Heidi. I forgot her name until I found this video. I subscribed to her channel, but she was rude to me as soon as I did, so I unsubscribed immediately. I saw her in London on the Sunday of August Bank Holiday weekend 2013, but didn't speak to her. All right, I'm sorry you didn't get on with her, Lemsip. But you never know. I don't know the background between what this argument or what the interaction actually was, so I can't assign blame in that case. But after all this time, you're talking 10 years now. These things might have improved. She may well have forgotten. I mean, when I went to Blackpool to the Awakening conference in Blackpool last year, my friend Tad actually introduced me to somebody that I'd not had any interaction with for years. This was somebody I used to know and was friends with, and on Facebook, and they unfriended me over some issue, and I suddenly realised that they'd probably forgotten. And so I said to Tash, "Don't remind her, all right? Just don't remind her don't remind her of." I explained to her how I had fallen out with her. She and her husband basically just unfriended me over an issue. I said, "But don't remind her because they've probably forgotten." Steve Mumling says on waiting for hearing. Hynek holding up Adamski's cigar humidor lid photo. Is this the cigar humidor lid no one could ever find? This is like this. The cigar humidor lid is the water cooler lid is another one. This is another one of these another one of these kind of MacGuffins that skeptics bring out to say, well, that's what it is really. This the latest version of that is the radar target balloon, because they keep saying, oh, it's all radar target balloons now. And I say, what are these? The sphere inside a square is a radar target balloon. So I say, well, Can you provide me with a picture of one of these? I actually had an interaction with someone on the live stream about this. Could you provide me with an interaction with one of these, please? And they say, yeah, sure. And they send me a crude like a crude sketch that someone's done in a notepad. I said, are there no photographs of these things? Goodbye. Anyway. It shouldn't take long for them to announce there's nothing to this ET nonsense. Well, it didn't, though, did it, Steve? It didn't. They didn't announce there was nothing to it. When people talk about involved in the ET Legacy Material Recovery Program, quote and unquote, they're talking about Bob Bigelow, Eric Davis, and Hal Puthoff, James Lakatsky, and Colm Kelleher. No, they're talking about other people, including Dr. Irina Scott, who you probably never heard of, because if you did, you'd realise there's a hell of a lot more to this. Please do read her book, Sacred Corridors, when you get the chance, Steve. These people have been peddling this ET nonsense for years, if not decades. Well, it is decades, but it's not nonsense. Get them in front of Congress and ask them under oath for tangible evidence that can be peer-reviewed by academia. They've done it, and they have. Obviously, a lot of the evidence is currently not publicly available and couldn't be tabled in the hearing itself, but it has been addressed. I strongly suspect they won't be able to produce anything at all because it has never existed. Well, you're wrong there, Steve, and you're going to find out more soon. Okay, Steve-O says on Silent Night Watch Party review. All right, I've given you an update on that, haven't I? Ben, is that a signed cover of Need to Know hanging up behind you? And what's in the frame window next to it? What's this? Hang on, let's just have a look. I just want to find out what this is all about. Silent Night Watch Party. I want to... Damn. So, could you be more specific, Steve? I don't have time. This is going to be quite a long video. I can't remember exactly what background I used for this particular review. Oh no, hang on. I know what you mean. Is it a sign need to know? No, the need to know. I thought you're thinking of Ross Coulthard because he's got a book with the same. Oh no, so his is called In Plain Sight. So I was thinking Ross Coulthard had written a book with that title. It's actually a poster. It's like a flyer for the book. So that's what you mean. Yeah, that's you're talking about my studio area. And what's in the frame next to it? In the frame next to it is Phenomena magazine ad and George Norrie's business card, and there's my badge for a conference of some kind. I can't see from here. So yeah, that's your answer. I'll try and find out more as time goes on. Right, with Rin Michaelis 8 catching up. I haven't had a comment on this one for a while. Steve-O says, Musk is no saviour, Ben. This is temporary freedom of speech to gauge the current thoughts and styles of the public before they try to turn the screw again and censor and delete. Right, Steve, at the time I wouldn't have agreed with you, but I mean, since this video was made, Elon has really, well, he's appointed that silly Kakachki woman as his as the CEO of Twitter, and he's changed its name to X, which is silly. So I'm kind of more agreeing with you now than I would have at the time. Reply to comment 68, Steve-O. Congratulations, Ben. Your reply to comments videos are finally able to claim free travel on public buses. Yes. Just another 19 and we'll get a telegram from the King. Interview with Keith Chaston. Oh, this is a really old one. Right. This is a really old one. I remember doing this. Keith is a really nice chap, and I really loved doing this interview with him. 84 Homie says, I was past life regressed by a hypnotist called Donald. Oh, that sounds familiar. Turns out in a past life, I was Alexander the Great's chief eunuch. This explains why whenever I see a young woman, I have this urge to cover her in oil. Yes, Rime, I have that age. It's got nothing to do with past lives. But I believe you, Rime. I believe you. That's a Red Dwarf reference, in case anyone's wondering, yeah. It's nice to see another Red Dwarf fan, homie. Thanks for that. Reply to comment 68, Steve-O. One of my comments has disappeared. It's a conspiracy, Ben. Oh, yeah, I've actually just... I've cleared... this is 2 weeks ago. I've just actually cleared the spam folder, and I did check it last week, and there was nothing there, so I can't explain that to Steve-O, but it does happen. Definitely, it's worth making a copy of them. I put a pretty good comment actually on one of that UFO podcast's programs, and I copied it because I wasn't sure if it would actually stay. Waiting for the hearing. Tessa 1111 flipping the burgers, as not much is happening. Oh right, okay, fair enough. I'm flipping the burgers. Well, I hope you enjoy them. But something did happen though, didn't it? This is right. UFO Disclosure 2023. So is that it? Oh right. Well, that question has been answered, hasn't it? And yeah, that's an old one. And Steve-O says another year gone without Russell and his friends attending a worldwide press conference. How's the Disclosure champagne holding up, Ben? All right. Well, unfortunately, I had to throw away the Disclosure champagne because it kind of corked. But I will get some. I'll get some more. I think that's the best thing to do is like get some more when Disclosure happens, or it's about to happen, yeah. Yeah, it went off, unfortunately. Waiting for the hearing, Dark Corners UK. Did we just get Disclosure? Grush confirms aliens are real, under oath. It's a step along the way. That's not the definition of disclosure, because it's not a complete confirmation by the executive. I think if the president announced it were true, that would count as disclosure with a capital D, but he hasn't yet. And as you know, Biden's not capable of announcing anything. He can hardly announce what he had for bloody breakfast that morning. But somebody in his position would just say, yes, we have definitive proof, including decisive evidence, that aliens are real. So that would be a definition of disclosure. There is an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race, and we can prove it. Grush. That isn't, Grush's testimony didn't constitute that, but it's a massive step along the way. Mongoose 3, Dope Gar. That's a good name. He's got a pint of bitter in his avatar. Just brilliant. Love these adventures. Reminds me of before the P word. That's the disease, We used to go on a ferry every year to watch a darts tournament in Ireland and spend a long weekend there. I do love ferry travel. Oh, I do too. That's the first time I've been on a ferry for ages. I used to go on them all the time as a kid because I used to go over to the Netherlands to see my family there. Thanks, Dope Gar. How are we doing for time? Okay. Truth Seekers Northeast 8 off duty. Steve-O said, classic Ben on tour footage. The Gateshead Grey case has it all. Grey aliens, cryptids, Bigfoots, MIBs, and a shovel. Boosh! It did, yes. Thank you, Steve. I'm glad you enjoyed that. It was good to visit that location. I did go there with Richard D. Hall when I was up in the area filming with him. This is before he turned against everyone and became anti-everybody. He did take me to show the area, but it was dark, and I got a few photographs that didn't come out very well. This is Truth Seekers Northeast 8, part 1 of 2. Steve-O says, don't you fear falling asleep on the couch and waking up in Scotland? Or some far-flung place miles from when you depart, Ben? The big glass building over the Millennium Bridge is called the Sage. It's a cultural centre that holds things like concerts, the arts and exhibitions, etc. Alright, that's that big building I showed you in Newcastle. I don't worry about that, Steve-O, because coaches are quite easy to deal with because they only make a handful of stops on the journey. And I can time it quite well. Also, the driver always announces in advance when there's going to be, and indeed they can even often remember where everyone's going because they get to know where all the passengers are heading. So I've never had a problem with that, never. Reply to comment 70, Steve-O. Where is Truth Seekers Northeast 8 Part 2? I can't see it on your channel, Ben. Well, it should be there. I certainly made it and put it on there. So Steve-O, well, let's have a look. You got me worried now. Seekers, let's have a look. Right, Truth Seekers 8. Right. Right, part 2. It's not on my channel?
Thing. It's about 3 hours long.
What's this then?
Ben Emlyn-Jones
live at Truth Seekers Northeast 8 part 2 of 2. I don't know why you can't see it, mate. I don't know why you can't find it. It's there. It's public. Yes, it's listed as public. So, right. That's strange. Anyway, okay, where was I? Okay. Still recording, good, yeah, good. So back to the comments. Anthony Peake book launch. You left the shampoo, Ben, says Stephen. Oh, that's in the hotel. Yes, for some reason, I don't really have any need for shampoo, do I? Waiting for the hearing. Beetlejuice says, watching Lotus Eaters today, 28/7/23, Ben, and it surprised me to hear Carl Benjamin's new open-minded attitude. I watched that video, Beetlejuice, and I actually found he sounded a little bit confused, actually. Like, he didn't really know what to think of it. I haven't actually looked at any other videos he's made. I know one of the other guys got to... Oh, right, two of the other guys, I think it was Josh, and they brought in one of their sort of, like... irregulars, one of the guest ones who only appears every couple of months, and he said he's the guy who does the gold advert on all of them. He says, you want gold, will be delivered, and stuff like this. That guy said, oh no, this has got psyops written all over it. He said, I mean, if I had more time I'd do like a full response to that video, but I don't. Maybe I will at some point. Okay. So if you want me to do a big response to that video, by the way, reviewers, and just let me know and say, Ben, do a response to that video. Reply to comments 80, and this is like below timestamp. This is 80. That's it. Still took coins. I would try some Manx money in there, and it would probably work actually. Although, hi Ben, I guess you could have dropped your spare Manx coins into the fruit machine on the return journey. It looks like they were there just for that purpose. It may well have been lights, because I've often seen fruit machines on. They do the same thing on the Hook Harwich line, that Hook Harwich line, which I used to go on to see my family. There was always fruit machines on there. And I thought, oh, why is that? They're not in the bar area, but just in the corridor. And I think they may have been a chance for people to gamble away their old currency. Yeah, because they tend to have two slots on them, one for one currency, one for the other. UFO Disclosure 2023 waiting for the hearing, and Steve Mumbling says the UFO fanboys are terrified these UFO recovery and analysis stories are finally going to be revealed as science fiction. I'm not, Steve, because I think that's very unlikely to happen. Apparently Dolan is screaming, cover up already, lol. Well, maybe he's got reason for that. Burchett isn't going to stop. All the people claiming to be involved in that legacy UFO retrieval program are going to be subpoenaed. They'll all be huddled together in the dark and dingy room saying, WTF do we say now? Just like the Apollo defectives. Well, Steve, your previous prediction didn't come true, did it? So maybe this one won't. Reply to Caroline Stevens. Oh, this is an old one. Mason Free Party. Hey, Mason, good to see you again. Haven't seen you for a while. Stevens has always been a shill. Well, for goodness sake. Oh, sorry, no, this is... reply to Caroline Stevens. Oh, Caroline is not a shill. You know, that's her line, Mason Free Party. She's the one who always thinks other people are shills. Mason Free Party says here... Andrew Johnson blocked me. Oh, right, well, join the club, mate. Join the club. We could set up our own Facebook group, blocked by Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson blocked me because I said Hurricane Erin was faked on 9/11. Someone who I've been friends with for 13 years and helping him at his talks. How about that for loyalty? Yeah, well, Andrew Johnson's a dickhead, Mason. He was gloating over Ian R. Crane's death. He's a piece of shit. I'd celebrate what he's just done, because that's basically that is like when, imagine you've got a big bag of rubbish and you think, I've got to take that out for the bin man and put it out for the bin man, can't be bothered, and it just walks out itself. That's when Andrew Johnson blocks you, that's what's happening. So yeah, I wouldn't expect anything different from him. If he's going to say, oh, what a blessing it is, in the little tab when he's talking about Ian R. Crane dying, of course he's going to block you for disagreeing with him on Hurricane Erin. Consider yourself lucky, mate. Same video, reply to Caroline Stevens. Listen, Ike and all the rest never mentioned the grand solar minimum. Even Andrew Johnson, who usually has a view about it, most things won't touch it. The grand solar minimum. Right, that refers to the one that we've just had, which is often a herald of climate change, yeah. Although not the kind of climate change we're talking about here, because it often involves a drop in temperature rather than a rise. I've not heard them mention it, no. Andrew, I've not heard Andrew talk about it either. I mean, believe it or not, despite the fact I can't stand the bastard, I still watch Andrew Johnson's material. I still take an interest in his work. I haven't changed my mind on any of the factual issues he talks about, just because I've fallen out with him. But I'll check that out. I mean, I think this is like the Maunder minimum. This could be a herald of some cold weather to come. So yeah, buy a pair of mittens. Where are we now? Okay, Steve-O says on UFO Disclosure 2023, it's all gone quiet. Well, it hasn't gone quiet now. Well, the Balloon Gate went quiet, but it was replaced by other things, wasn't it? Where's your secret insider, Ben? There seem to be plenty of them around. Who do you mean? Secret insider? Who's a secret insider? So I don't know what you mean. Do you mean Jack, the guy? He died. Jack, the guy who went to Antarctica. He's dead. He was quite old, but yeah. Catching up with Steve Bassett. UFO Disclosure 2023, catching up with Steve Bassett. Steve-O says, can we lay the bank robber analogy to rest now, Ben? I think it's run its course. Well, yeah, I know it's now become a bit of a cliche, Steve-O. However, I think it's so useful and so descriptive that I will bring it up whenever that subject comes up. So if you don't like hearing it, then don't raise the subject. And I'd say that to anyone, actually, not just you. Every time this issue comes up, I will describe my own misgivings about it by using the bank robber analogy. And we have now John Nolan on Waiting for the Hearing. Nick Pope was doing the rounds again on USA News shows, talking about the same old shite. I know, John, he does. I'm sick of hearing about him, actually. I really am. He's basically all the videos. He's been on News Nation. He's been on The Hill. He's been everywhere. Even after all these years, it's like it's like that Pocket Gods song, His presence in this UFO documentary is mandatory. Weird Weekend. Oh, sorry, no. EVP on HPANWO TV. Steve-O here says, What did you talk about when you were invited to Frenchie's Skeptic Gathering? How did it go down with them? I basically did a very short and concise version of my Helen Duncan talk, the one I just did at Dorset Earth Mysteries Group, and I left out a lot. I left out the bits where I state unequivocally I think that Helen Duncan was a real psychic medium. Someone actually did ask me that in the Q&A, and I said yes, I think she's a real psychic medium. But I focused just on the legal case and things like that, and the legal issue. Which you can actually take that line, even if you don't believe she was a real psychic medium. You could take a line on this case similar to mine, just over the issue of free speech and things like that. Steve O says here on Weed Weekend North 2023, are you going to represent Wales or England when you get the call up to the European Lard Eating Championship, Ben? Wales, of course. We could eat more lard than the bloody English any day. Truth Seekers Northeast 8 off duty. Stephen Truth Seeker says this sounds like a portal. It was. I mean, the way Robert Hall described it, the old man who Richard D. Hall interviewed, no relation, he described it as being like a portal. With the hazy curtain over the street and things like that. Same video, Stephen Truthseeker. Ben, I do sometimes read and definitely comment on the HPANWO blog. Yes, you do, I know. I've seen your comments. Oh, but my comments are not showing on your recent HPANWO voice articles. Right, I don't know why that is, Stephen, because I haven't actually rejected an article for quite a long time, and it was a piece of spam. So I don't know why that is. Sorry. Same video, Stephen Truthseeker. The police moved the Grey's body. They did, yes. They moved it from the cellar. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, I remember now. He says. Okay. Alien Area 51. Alien interview with John Stewart. Steve-O says, what do you think about the Skinny Bob videos on the Ivan 0135 channel, Ben? I know it's hard to make a firm decision these days, but it's been online for quite a while now. 12 years, I just checked. Yes, I was a bit dubious about it. I mean, Mike Hallowell wrote a very good article about it in the very short-lived UFO Matrix magazine. It was a very good magazine, even though it didn't last long. And he mentioned some anomalies that made him think it was a computer-generated image, like the length of the arms, things like that. But I've seen other analysis since then, which calls that into question. And indeed, simply the fact that all this time has gone past and no one has sort of like confessed, and no one has, the background to the videos never been uncovered. It is like the alien interview in that respect, because UFO researchers, people like Philip Mantle, when they get their teeth into the alien autopsy, it doesn't take long, for the cards to fall to the table. Yet, in the case of my nose is itching. In the case of these two videos, including Skinny Bob, that hasn't happened. So I used to think Skinny Bob was fake. I'm not so sure now. Reply to comment 74, Steve-O. Ben, I've noticed that some other channels have started tagging a personal guideline on their comments about being respectful, spamming, and general decency. Perhaps you should add it to your channel's comments box. Yeah, maybe. See, Steve, as Bill Hicks said, why do we have to remind people about these things? It should go without saying. But maybe you're right. 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 We have the congressional hearing live stream. There's a bit of a gap because I went away for the weekend to Glastonbury. Video. We'll no doubt we'll come on to that video. But I came back and did this live stream. Neil says, Ben, I got totally confused. I was adding comments to something you did on Disclosure 3 weeks back, thinking it was this video. This one does not come back up as your recent video on your channel. I had to relocate it by going through my notifications on the live stream. Right, I don't know why that was, because I think I forgot to add it to the feature video on my channel, which I then did later. So I don't know why that was, because it was actually a top video on my channel for a while. But the problem is, Neil, that YouTube, in their bloody beneficence, has decided to create two separate pages for live streams and for uploads, which I don't know why. What's the point? It just makes it more difficult, makes it more inconvenient. But there you go. So now when you go to a channel page, you have to click a different tab to watch the bloody live streams. Anyway, Steve Mumbling says it's a link here on the same video. Let's have a look. Oh, right. That there, I think, is a pile of manure. A steaming pile of shite, Max Mark Duxbury. Right, Steve, yes. That's right. I get it. I get it, Steve. I get it, you know. But that is not enough said. Any more, you know, you can't, as I said many times, I could say that about anything. I could say that about 2 + 2 = 4. And post a little short video of a pile of poo, and would that mean does that mean that 2 + 2 = 5? Was O'Brien right? All right. Anyway, so that's not enough said, Steve, and you're not making any point. Right, Senate hearing part 2. Right, this is the UFO Disclosure 23 Senate hearing. This is the one I did in about the May hearing. Steve-O says, just after 146, you mentioned known unknowns and unknown unknowns. Well, if an unknown is known, does that make it known? That sounds like something from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. Well, this is one of the weird things that I don't quite understand about this process. They talk about known unknowns and unknown unknowns. Well, surely an unknown unknown must be a non-entity, so it can never be known. But if an unknown unknown was ever known, then it would have to move to the known unknown bracket. Sorry, what was that? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird, Steve, isn't it? I don't quite get it at all. But could a known unknown ever become a known unknown? I don't know. And when do they all become known knowns? If you know, can you let me know? P.S. Once you know something, does that mean it cannot become unknown? You see? Thank you for your response. Oh, classic. I know, Stephen. Steve, after reading that, I'll tell you, I was no more confused than I was when I first heard them talk about that. Right, hearing live stream. This is the new hearing live stream, UFO congressional hearing live stream. Jack Parker said, I guess what the aliens could do it, just shut down the planes, equipment, planes, I think you mean aeroplanes, you put PLAINS, equipment freeze them in midair. Well, Jack, I think I understand what you mean. They did do that with Parvez Jafari and Milton Torres. Get out with a pair of pliers and bust off their control surfaces. Give them a push up to speed, then fly off. Well, they could do that, couldn't they? As always, Jack Parker's put a whole series of comments here. Of course, after the alien freezes the fighter jet in midair, gets out on the wing with a big pair of pliers, maybe pipe wrench breaks off some of the control surfaces, I think you mean surfaces, and says, come on now, you want to stay in there or come and get in my ship? And got much time to decide it's kind of chilly up here. Well, that would be a form of abduction, wouldn't it, Jack? So suppose after being frozen in midair, the UFO, who gets out on the wing to break off the plane's control equipment, the pilot, quickly thinking, pulls his handgun and says, that'll be far enough, get back in that ship and leave. I don't know if pilots have handguns on planes. I know in the movies they always do, in case they're captured. Maybe in wartime they do, but... Alien shrugs his shoulders and says, okay, good luck starting that thing on the way down. What's this? Right. Yeah. Right, okay. There we go. Next thing. I just got to just quickly reply to a text. Yeah, it's just going to quickly reply to this. Just with a thumbs up. There we go. There we go. Right. That was a text from my daughter, just something I've got to do. Which I was sort of below the frames. That's all right. Right, congressional hearing live stream. Dark Corner said, for me, the biggest take home of this whole inquiry is the sheer apathy shown by the general public. Yeah, I mean, well, I'll write an article soon about my dad. It was really I had a remarkable conversation with him, one that I never thought I would have. You know, we are now seeing sworn testimony from some pretty credible witnesses that non-human entities do in fact exist, and the general public just go about with their daily lives ignorant of truth. Well, I don't know if you watch my... I think I might have gone through the did I go to do a video about Stefan Molyneux? And I actually did I wrote an article about a video that Stefan Molyneux had made about this, or one of his things here, which was, let me just have a look and see if I can find it. I'll show you the article. Where's UFO disclosure? Yeah, here we go. Stefan Molyneux on. Oh, where is it? Is it? I should have put it. I'm sure I'd have put it on this actual. I haven't put it on the UFO disclosure video, which is the portal, which is rather strange. I'll just find it. I'll find it using search. Moulinex. I could go through it. There's no real point going. Here we are. Stefan Molyneux UFOs. Stefan Molyneux on UFOs again. Here we go. May 2023. It's this one here. Okay, so you can. Here's the URL. You can go and read it. But basically, he made a video where he says, "Oh, do you want a black pill?" and stuff like this. You can pause and read this if you want. It may be easier just to go to the actual article itself and read it. But I actually do tackle that whole issue in that article. And indeed, I'm going to write another article as soon as I can find the time, which may be next week sometime, about my dad and the conversation I had with him, which was unbelievable. David Smith says, it actually fills me with hope. Apparently, there are not as many gullible people as I feared. David, well, before you do your skeptic victory dance, do bear in mind that it's not disbelief. It's not active cynicism or skepticism from the public. It is, as Dark Corner said, apathy. It's disinterest. Or not disinterest, uninterest. Disinterest and uninterest mean two different things, yeah. Alright, hearing live stream. Seth Aaron Fletcher, TMW stands for tomorrow. Oh, thank you. I'll catch up with internet speak. TK UK, words but no aliens. All right, you're one of these people, aren't you? I want it all, I want it all, I want it all, and I want it now. Well, you can't have it all now. No one is going to walk into that hearing, the first one of its kind, and just with a box of documents and then dump them on the table like playing cards. You're going or bring in an alien body or something like that. All right. It's to say that because that hasn't happened. This is what Cambion's doing. Because that didn't happen at this hearing, obviously it's all nonsense. Well, that's a completely wrong. And David Smith says, any day now. Yes, we always used to say that. But the thing is, if you say any day now about something true, eventually you're going to be right. Aren't you? And indeed we will be. Live stream, Dark Corners. Ben, this is the hearing live stream. Ben, mate, on a completely different subject. Will you be doing a video tribute to Gareth Davis this year on the anniversary of his passing? I won't, no, but I think Nocturnal Frequency Radio did, and they invited me to take part, but I couldn't. Yeah, but obviously I'll never forget Gareth, and I did do a video of a memorial video to him. Right, hearing live stream, Steve mumbling, this is exactly what I said would happen. All right, now here is a link, a YouTube link. What's this? It's 8 minutes 45.
Hello again. I saw this morning. This is a sort of follow-up video, just a quick clip from News Nation again.
The as predicted, the UFO piffle peddlers are running away. Steve, right, there's a description here. Surprise, surprise, Senator Burchett tells us the people with her first-hand experience of ET materials are backing out on him. Oh, for goodness sake, Steve, why do you think that's happening? Okay, I'm not going to watch all this video now. Again, I've got them in my history so I can go back to them. Why do you think that is? Because it's all not true? You see, it's ridiculous just to say, well, they're backing out on him because it's not true. It was never true to begin with. No, it's because those in favour of the truth embargo are fighting back. This is a factional war, as Richard Dolan said, and they're doing their best to make things difficult for the witnesses. They've got this twat to publish Grush's medical records. A guy who is suffering from PTSD, a very, very common ailment, especially for war veterans, and it's all over the media now. his private medical information is in the media. And they've just done it with the cruelty and heartlessness that even by modern mainstream media's matters defies belief. This is why some people are backing out now. Not all of them, but some of them are. And so, I mean, I'm not going to watch all that video now, but your title and description box kind of gives it away. David Smith says, "You keep nailing it, Steve. You have to go into business as a psychic. Get your crystal boomerang out." That will be amusing. Oh, let me see. I think sometime in the next week you're going to have you're going to meet an old friend, and then let me see. Let's see. What's this here? Oh, is this a new romance coming in the air? Oh yes, Gypsy Steve. All right, Steve-O says on Oxford Graffiti 4, 28 minutes. That'll be the Penguin from the Batman TV show, played by Burgess Meredith. Oh, right, okay. He did. Yeah, I know what you mean, and I see the resemblance. I remember this. This is Oxford Graffiti 4, and I remember the thing you mean. And it did look like that. Yeah, I mean, he was bloody good. Burgess Meredith was very good, actually. He's very good. He was a very good actor. Very good indeed. UFO Congressional Hearing live stream. Steve Mumbling says here. So when are you and Bassett going to do a video conceding there's no ET visitation? No crashed ET craft. No ETs in jars anywhere. Well, we'll do it when evidence emerges that that's the case. Instead of what with the situation now when the evidence actually is pointing in the opposite direction. It's all science fiction rubbish. It always has been. That's very obviously where this is going, isn't it? All right, Steve, you may be interested to know, and I'm sure other people will. Stephen Bassett was going to be on News Nation, and they cancelled his appearance. I was very annoyed about that because I was looking forward to seeing Steve on there. David says, "They've got 2 jars, Steve. Don't worry about that. What's more likely, those jars are empty or filled with pickles? Or filled with aliens?" Oh, David Smith has brought out the Occam's razor argument, which I totally destroy in my my skeptic video. See, it's not you're not very original, David. I'll tell you, you're not original at all. Those jars are empty. Yeah, it's positive evidence there are aliens. You see, it's not just a process of elimination and dealing with statistics and things like that. Steve-O says on Grush 10 Days On, it's UFO Disclosure 2023. Superstar skeptic, this is a tongue twister, superstar skeptic Shermer, slowly shifting sideways. Sounds so silly. Surely shan't shockingly slide. Someday, God blimey, seashells on the seashore. Someday, surprisingly, standing shoulder to shoulder, speaking sensibly with woo-woos. I managed to pronounce all that. Well, that's a great tongue twister, Steve-O, and Shermer is kind of, I think he's been wavering for a couple of years, but for reasons I explained in my skeptic video, the incident at his wedding, things like that. Yeah. Right. This is 1 week UFO disclosure hearing, 1 week on UFO disclosure. Here we go. Insert text said it was great to see Steve Bassett sat behind Commander Fravor. So Steve actually wasn't there, unfortunately. Other people were, such as Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. I think you may be getting them mixed up. Steve he was actually in the overflow room. He actually said so. He did. Right. So what's next? Martin Taylor, same video. All domain anomalous resolution office. That's it. Arrow. I can never think what these things stand for. Anomaly office. Yeah, anomaly. Yeah. Thanks, Martin. Much appreciated. Third time. Here we go. All domain anomaly resolution office. That's it. I'll try to remember that. Same video, nothing as it seems. This is completely off the subject at hand, but if you had a conversation with Dr. Judith Curry, the climatologist, it would be brilliant. I've heard that name somewhere. Dr. Judith Curry. Right. Well, I mean, maybe we can arrange that. Right. UFO Disclosure 2023. UFO hearing 1 week on. Sandra Shufflebottom. Hey, Sandra. How you doing, darling? You okay? Great vid, Ben. Steve is so cool. I'm sure the vibe will be brilliant at Awakening. Not long now, Buzz. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be seeing you. Yes, Sandra's going to be there, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing her. I've seen her before at other events. And, well, Sandra... Right, Sandra has replied to a troll who I've blocked, so I won't read out Sandra's comment here, but she did. A troll replied to her with a stupid comment, and Sandra replies to him. But Sandra, just bear in mind that person has been blocked, so if you want to talk to them, that's fine, but I won't read out the comment. 1 week on, Stephen Truthseeker. I have no faith in government, media, and pop culture, because this is what this is. Stephen... You have no faith in these things. Well, I don't have a lot, but I believe that, as I've explained, there are white hats now who are very powerful. So I don't think we should discount this. I really don't. But Gerontodon thinks differently. In fact, says quite bluntly here, it thinks exactly the opposite of me. It's more controlled and contrived than ever. I don't see how you work that out. When everything that's happened since 2016, Gerontodon. And that's what you say. I don't understand why you think that. I really don't. But anyway, that's the end of an hour. So we'll come back with the other. We'll come back with the other comments in a minute. This is a bit of a thread here, so I'll pick it up in the next hour. All right, guys. Hour number 3 now. Now I probably won't finish this hour in one. Well, I will finish the hour, obviously, but I will probably. You'll see me stop the recording, and there'll be a little break in the recording because it's now in half an hour I have to leave and I have to record Third Rail Radio, so I have to sort of stop what I'm doing with the comments reply video and come back to it later. So this video will probably be online pretty much the same time as Third Rail Radio, the show I do every week. And by the way, if you've never listened to Third Rail Radio, please do. You just go to the HPANWO Radio blog and you'll see it. There's a link in the HPANWO TV blog, because this week's subjects are going to be about the aliens in Peru and the wildfires, which look very suspicious. Anyway, I'll continue with this thread here. Jamnoise72 says, I agree, Stephen. So Jamnoise is also says I have no faith in government, media, and pop culture because this is what this is. And Jamnoise says to Gerontodon, it was like watching a very bad movie. They had scripts and earpieces. Right. Alright, just delete a comment from a troll. Hang on, let's have a go there. Just get rid of that troll comment. Obviously, as I've explained to the other two Jamnoise, I don't agree. I think there's more going on here. And I go into details, actually, in various videos I've made on this subject. I think there may be white hats involved in this. I don't think if it felt a bit contrived, that's because basically it was a public hearing based on several private hearings and skiffs that have happened in the past. So I think we should give this a chance. I mean, if you disagree, that's fine. But I'm personally going to give this a chance and see where it goes. At the same time, we have to be on our guard against disinformation. I know. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, same video, and we have Tommy Trombone 77. Pure gaslighting BS. Oh dear, it seems I'm very much in a minority here. The ulterior motive's so obvious. What with them pushing the AI thing, any C word. It's a word. It's a rude word. Right, who unquestionably went along with the J words, that is the, Jabberwockies. Then UK Rain, Then UK Rain, and then the latest hive-minded indoctrination. Climate Change CC33 will, I'm sure, buy, B-U-Y, into the latest gaslighting BS they push to the plebs and plankton. All right. Well, you're a lot more. Well, there's a lot of flowery rhetoric in this comment, but I can only repeat, Tommy Trombone, what I said in the previous thread. I'm not so sure. I agree with you though about the AI thing and the old C word, J word thing, but this is different. This could be a push by the white hats for genuine disclosure. If that is the case, then it's an opportunity we can't afford to miss. This is why this is a dilemma. I know we have to tread a narrow, very narrow pathway between excessive cynicism and excessive naivety. Because we can't. I mean, a lot of people says, well, a lot of people have told me basically, let's just assume it's disinformation. Then if we're wrong, it doesn't matter. But it's better than being wrong if you assume it's not. Well, no, because if we assume it's disinformation, it turns out not to be. We enter a very difficult situation. Tommy Trombone says, the organic portals in this scripted realm better stock up with that pasta and precious arse-wiping paper, because the end is nigh. Well, I won't do this sort of like panic shopping thing. I mean, I've got my own plans and my own ideas about how to survive what's coming. So anyway, same video. Woody Black, 2224. I'll just leave this here for everyone. Oh, right. This is where I make a rather unflattering comment about the BBC. Let's have a look. You'll probably remember this. And now I want to come on to the good old big black cock. That's what I call the BBC. And Geron Todon says, I'm sure someone will be grateful. And Crafty Nihilist is laughing, yeah. Steve-O says here, this is Mongoose Part 3. Let's have a new HPANWO video genre. Ben rants. Oh my goodness me. Well, I could do, but then there's already quite a few of those in there already. Jam Noise also points to the BBC thing and laughs. Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Soul Sister. I really did. Jam Noise says on 1 Week On, did they choose Mrs. Luna on purpose? What a great name. But Moon, isn't it? Yes, so her name's Anna Paulina Luna. But I think that is her real name. Yeah. But it's very appropriate, isn't it? Moon. That's definitely. Steve-O says, I don't want to spend your money, Ben, but when do you think you're off on your travels next? This is 9 days ago. This was on Dorset Earth Mysteries 2. And I told him I'm off to... Well, I've been on 2 trips since then. I went to Truth Seekers Teesside to do a very good talk for them, which I've recorded audio of, which will be on HPANWO Radio. There is a video version as well, which is coming soon, recorded by the hosts. And I've been to UFO Academy, Watford, which there's a video of that coming soon. And I told him, and he says, nice, hope it goes well. Thanks, Steve-O. Steve-O says on Mongoose 3, no souvenirs, Ben? Sorry, mate. I was going to do that at the end. I was going to do whole loads of things. I was going to take a little trip on the journey back, but I couldn't because I had to get home. But I will be trying to fill those things in on the future videos, where I left off. 1 Week On, Steve mumbling, indeed, I told you so, it's all corrupt. No, it's not. Right, Steve says here, Arrow, all domain resolution office, the denigration of Arrow is simply those 3 witnesses are saying there's something to this ET nonsense. And Arrow, whose purpose is investigating UAPs, among other things, are saying there isn't. No, Steve, as I explained, Arrow is the new Project Blue Book. Kirkpatrick is calling Grush a liar. And you believe him, and not Grush? The 3 witnesses aren't necessarily lying. Grush may well believe what he's been told, and the pilots may believe they witnessed something unusual enough to be E.T. But Steve, this is coming from somebody who basically you don't even know what the evidence is. You've just assumed it. They won't get in any trouble for this. They've sworn an oath in Congress. The bottom line is there's no tangible evidence to support ET visiting. Yes, there is. And those claiming first-hand experience with ET materials are now running away and hiding under the table because this tangible evidence doesn't exist. It does, Steve. Because it's all science fiction. You're looking rather hot and bothered, as if you really know deep down inside that it's all falling in a heap. No, I'm not. I can't comment on how I look to you. But I don't think that at all. If I did, I would say so. Here we go. Kirkpatrick wrote, Arrow has yet to find any credible evidence, I know, to support blah-de-blah allegations of any reverse engineering program for non-human technology. And he should know, really, shouldn't he? No. In the same way that people like Nick Pope and J. Allen Hynek were kept out of the loop, Kirkpatrick has been kept out of the loop. Because, look, you could really, if you are in charge of the truth embargo, are you going to tell the person who is the public face of official ufology all your secrets? It's crazy. Of course they're not. Don't you understand what's going on here? This is the shop front. This is the shop window for the truth embargo. Hearing live stream at Neil 7245. Hello, Neil. That's one cool T-shirt, Ben. Oh yeah, the told you so one. Thanks. David Splendid Isolation says more reportage. This is Ben Goes on Tour 2023 Part 1 of 2. This is a new video now. More reportage. You spoil us. I love spoiling you, David. I really do. 1 of 2. This is Ben Goes on Tour 2023 Part 1 of 2. Brett Riverboat says, Ben, what do you think of Greer saying the Tic Tac UFO was man-made? I think it's unlikely, Brett. For two reasons. Firstly, its behaviour. If it was man-made, why would it be flying near the US Navy? And secondly, the antiquity of the phenomenon. Things like that have been seen since long before similar objects were created in the secret space program. And I mean, what Stephen Greer says about the secret space program is true. It's just like many people, he overestimates how much of the entire UFO phenomenon can actually be explained that way. I've just watched The Lost Century, actually. I wrote a review of it on HPANWO Voice, so you can check that out. Same video, Neil Peel. I spoke at the Glastonbury Symposium 5 years back, about 5 years back, along with Philip Kinsella. It was a great experience. It is, isn't it? It really is, yeah. And I want to not leave it so long next time before the next one, because it's 13 years since I went to the last one. This is on my original Charles video, the comedy. Jack Burns says, Ben, your Charles vids are hilarious. I managed to find the original interview with Bill Ryan, but there's no way I could sit through the whole 2 hours. Though PMSL, when he claimed the SAS wouldn't stand a chance against it. Right, gotcha. Oh, I'd tell you, I mean, I love doing this. And Charles Unleashed, who's the guy who made a whole series of comedy videos about this. Some of them featuring me. I mean, that's so funny, man. That's so funny. Right, says here, this is on 1 of 2. Ben, mate, will there be an upload of the Star Wars Decoded talk? I'm interested to hear what Colin says, because I've heard him talk about Star Wars before, and it was interesting, but he's way off course with his theories. Not knocking him, I just can't resist critiquing Star Wars errors. Cheers. Yes, eventually, well, they're available on DVD very soon. After a few more months, I think that they will be put online, so you will watch them. But, of course, Colin and I did have a discussion about this, and Gary's going to say here. So I couldn't resist having a look at YouTube, to see if Colin's talk has been uploaded anywhere, and found a short video of him giving a summary of it at the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference channel. Right. Oh, yes, he did. I mean, he has done this talk before, yeah. He mentions that in his opinion, Star Wars upholds a strong UFO connection, and there is a possibility the stories were channeled to George Lucas by higher intelligence. My problem with these theories is that if you know the history of the gang of young filmmakers from the 60s and 70s, of which George was a part, then you would know that these theories don't hold any weight. Originally, George and Gary Kurtz wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie in the style of what they referred to as a space opera, which would be aimed at 10-year-old boys and therefore would be free of any potentially overcomplicated sci-fi themes such as UFOs. Well, that film, actually, there was a very good film made of Flash Gordon, with a bit of unintentional comedy in it, really, which was not made by Lucas, yeah, but there was a film made of it. After all the audience are being presented with other worlds and not our planet being invaded by flying saucers, if that makes any sense. In regards to the stories being channeled to George, this is also unlikely if you take into consideration the number of rewrites and the people who contributed ideas and improvements to the films in both pre-production and post. George spent several years showing the work in progress to Joseph Campbell, Brian De Palma and Francis Coppola, all of whom gave him feedback which resulted in constant changes to the screenplay. All right. There's a Brian De Palma, brother of Bruce De Palma, of course, the guy who was shot for free energy production. Francis Ford Coppola is very famous. Yeah, he did several really good films. He did Apocalypse Now, where my lookalike Marlon Brando appears in it. His first wife, Marcia, also made changes to all three movies in the original trilogy within the editing process, straying quite drastically at times from the screenplay. Well, I didn't know Marcia also was involved in it. I know he married this woman called Marcia, and she was like quite close to him. I didn't know she was actually involved in his work. The rough outlines for The Empire Strikes Back were also changed to incorporate ideas from Gloria Katz and her husband Willard Huyck, I think that's a Dutch name, Huyck, who suggested that Vader should be Luke's father during a dinner party that took place after the release of the first movie. Right, oh, I see. Well, that's interesting because, as I said, Huyck, Huyck, is a Dutch name. And he may have got the idea simply because of the name Vader. It could be that it seems in that case that Lucas chose the name Darth Vader. He didn't know the connection between the Dutch word vader and Vader, which Huyck, if he was Dutch, would have noticed, which may have given him the idea. Lucas also downgraded the story of Return of the Jedi at the last minute, forcing the storyline of Luke and Leia being brother and sister. Right. That would explain why in Splinter of the Mind's Eye, of course, which was written by Lucas. Well, it was written by Alan Dean Foster, who novelised all of Lucas's films. That would explain why Luke and Leia have some romance between each other, because at that point he didn't know that the two were going to be set up as brother and sister. Yeah. Colin also brings up the origins of Anakin Skywalker and mentions a possible Anunnaki connection. Anakin, in the form of Darth Vader, is quite simply a representation of George's father, George Lucas Sr., who was a small businessman from Modesto, California. Alright. Luke Skywalker, as you may have guessed, is a self-insert of George Lucas, with the name Luke coming from Lucas. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I've learnt a lot from this, Gary. So I've got my skeptic hat on again today, Ben. But please don't think I'm knocking Colin, as I'm sure he's a good bloke and I know he's your mate. I'm interested to hear the rest of his talk. Cheers. Right, well, I don't think... of course, I don't. I know you're not knocking Colin, Gary. And Colin, Colin's quite robust when it comes to criticism because he's had a hell of a lot with the alien autopsy thing. So, all I can do... I can't answer any of this myself. But all I can do is pass on your comments to Colin and see what he says. Well, thanks for that, Gary. I learnt a lot there. Ben goes on to our 2023 part 1 of 2. David, Splendid Isolation, says, Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930, so who figured out what it was or wasn't doing since then? Right, I don't know exactly how Pluto ended up in... Because, yeah, you're right, Pluto was discovered by someone called Clive Tombaugh. I always remember that name. Sounds like Tomboy, but he was a man. Some people claim that the discovery of Pluto itself was what caused, the Great Depression, the rise of Hitler, and the World War II and things like that. But I don't know how it actually fits in. Maybe Helen Sewell could tell you. I don't know. Right, 1 week on Steve mumbling. I didn't hate your Russian Roswell video, Ben. You did. I thought it was laughable. All right, well, call it what you like. All right, Steve. Well, we can sort of quibble over the meaning, but there you go. I thoroughly debunked it by clearly showing a straight edge along the bottom of the craft, quote unquote, that they had tried to cover with leaves. It was a prop half saucer leaning against a tree. Absolute rubbish. Next caller, please. Well, Steve, as I explained to you in the video, you don't have any proof that that was a prop. You don't know. You were speculating completely on what that straight edge was and how it was made. For all you know, it could have been made in the attempt to break an attempt could have been made to break the craft into several pieces, because as you can see, some of it was buried under the ground. So, yeah, and I say more in the actual video, which you find so laughable and do not hate. Right, well, 1 week on Steve mumbling. I'll make another. What's this? I'll make another prediction. Another bold prediction. What, as bold as the other ones that didn't come true? Disclosure, quote unquote, is not coming in September or any time after that. Right. Steve, it is duly noted. I'll get back to you on that if it happens. Because there's nothing to disclose. SETI or the JWST team may find an ET out in the galaxy that will lead to an announcement within the next 10 years that we're not alone. But ET coming here and crashing, etc., is just science fiction nonsense. It's a steaming pile, yeah. That's right, Steve, because space travel is impossible, isn't it? It's ironic that you, who believe the moon landings happened, so badly underestimate the ability of people or intelligent beings to devise spacecraft. If you remember from my SETI and UFOs video, I talk about Project Daedalus. This was designed in the early 1950s. Could have been built then and there. We could be on the nearest star now. Do you think a more sophisticated civilization has not worked that out by now and produced something better? David Smith says underneath, this is where I put my money. I don't think it'll be a concrete, we know now there are other intelligent species, quote unquote, either. I think it'll be more along the lines of, we've detected something that's likely to be other life. Despite what the conspiracy crowd like to say about skeptics, it scares me to think that we may be alone in the universe and cosmos, and what that could mean. Well, as Arthur C. Clarke said, David, that would be equally terrifying. However, I don't think you need to worry about that. The evidence is overwhelming. We are not alone, and what's more, SETI is really pretty pointless, as Steve and I have discussed. Silly effort to investigate, as the late great Stanton Friedman used to call it. So yeah, it's probably. I think you will find that out very soon indeed. And in fact, really, if you don't know that now, then I don't know if you ever will. Alright, 1 week on, Steve mumbling. Grush never said we've got ET technology, we've got bodies at all. He said he's been told we've got ET technology, we've got ET bodies. Now, those are two very different things, the latter being hearsay. Typical UFO fanboy embellishment. Rubbish, Steve. He actually did say, no, we've got it. He didn't say, even though, as he explains, this comes from witness interviews, rather than experiencing these directly. You know, jumping on that little fact that he hasn't seen it directly is not as big a deal as you skeppers think it is. Or the backslappers who are really just doing the skeptic's job for them. So it is not a very different statement at all in the context we're talking about here. David Smith says with typical sarcasm, oh my god, Steve, are you telling me we've got alien technology? Finally evidence? And I'm just going to... well, there's a troll there I've blocked, so David can answer... I'll just delete their comment there. Remove, there we go. But anyway, you can that user's blocked now. Okay, Tor 1 of 2, Dark Corners. Matthew Williams did a fantastic videos from Rudlow Manor, but got chased off by security, and the police stopped him on the way down the road. I remember. That was a great one, wasn't it? That was a brilliant video he made. Dark Corner says on Tor 1 of 2, the posh couple who stopped to talk to you at Rudlow Manor are believed to be undercover security. They've stopped numerous people over the years. Is that right? Oh, so I'm not the first. Then I'm not the first person who's encountered these people, is it? Oh, right. Dark Corners on Tor 1 of 2. That Storm guy is super charismatic character. He is, isn't he? I mean, I didn't quite understand most of what he said to me, to be honest, but he seems so genuine. It's like many people in Glastonbury. I mean, I'd say the same about like David Boyle, who's passed away now. He just seems so genuine that I can't help listening to him and wondering, you know, he's obviously being sincere. He must mean something, even though I can't understand it. Yes, Ben goes on tour 2023, part 2 of 2, new video. The Crafty Nihilist says, first, Crafty, you knew that. You're not getting a tinfoil hat, Crafty, because you both knew that was coming. You knew it was coming. Tor 1 of 2. Barley's Den says, I only watch these videos for Ben's yawning. Oh, right. Well, you really? Is that the only reason? Goodness me, didn't you find the rest of it entertaining? Emlyn-Jones says, when I'm Queen, I'll be arranging for Ben to be forcibly taken to a lab for a sleep study. I'd do it now, but I'll probably get arrested for Ben napping. Pardon the pun. Well, I mean, the yawning thing. I mean, the yawning. I don't think is a result of sleeping disorder. I think what causes it. It's like the same thing, which is why I get itchy nose or I get a cough. It's because when I'm talking like this, for some reason, especially when I'm on camera, I get that kind of. For some reason, I get this kind of like thing where you go. It's a reaction to it. You know, it's my nose itches. It's the maybe vibration from my voice. All right, no, right. The lights were low on tour 1 of 2, and there's a timestamp here, 2:34:03. Right, what's this lights? Oh, it's the end. All right. For some reason, the lights that's the end. Take the challenge. Well, that's the end lights. All right. Well, there's a part 2 if that's what you mean. Right, a World Disclosure Day 2023 live stream, new video. As is Messer 1562 says, promo SM. Right, I don't know what that means. Tour 2 of 2. Barney's Den says, Ben's yawn count by the end of part 2 was 156. Oh my goodness me. Barney, I think you have a bit of OCD there, you really do. I mean, I remember, who was it who counted the number of times I said Brexit Trump when I was being attacked by a mob in London in my Trump video? You said Brexit Trump, because I'm quite proud of myself, actually. These bloody lefty thugs surrounded me and started abusing me. Someone was slapping me on the shoulder trying to get me to respond, and I didn't. But they said, oh, you said Brexit Trump like 52 times or something, yeah. Emlyn-Jones, keep nagging him to get a sleep study done. And Jam Nice says, I've told Ben before that he sounds like a steam train when he yawns. Yes, I think I'm like Gordon of the blue engine, aren't I? And Jam Nice says, geez, you actually counted them. LMFAO. I know. I mean, what's Alan says, I had the same issue. It turned out to be sleep apnea. Well, I mean, I don't. How many symptoms do I have of sleep apnea? I mean, I know you worry about me, Leanne, and I'll at some point when I've got the stomach for it, I'll go and sort it out. But I just feel so uncomfortable being in the healthcare system, and I don't have a lot of other symptoms of sleep apnea. I don't have. Tour 2 of 2, David Splendid Isolation says. AI that actually thinks for itself and might be considered self-aware and conscious is called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. AGI doesn't exist at the moment in any form. We are right now with AI is nowhere near that level, and some researchers think it may never be truly possible. Yeah, and that's David Deutsch. He doubts that you could ever create artificial consciousness, which I think is a better term than AGI. However, what we have is a very sophisticated, as you say here. I agree with you in the sense that any level of AI will only ever be a very sophisticated simulation of a conscious being. There will never be an actual person inside looking out, so to speak. But only ever a long string of ones and zeros flying by. A simulation of the real thing, and I understand this to be because of the existence of the soul, something that can't be replicated electronically. I agree with that, David. Yes, I think you could call it, I mean, I know scientists are using different terms for it. Penrose says it's called the quantum mind or something. As Roger Penrose has that theory. But either way, I mean, it's something that appears. Well, so far they have failed to replicate it electronically, despite building machines of the sophistication necessary. So there are computer networks that are at that kind of level, in terms of. In other words, you'd expect it to be possible. There should be some kind of consciousness if it was possible to be so, and it hasn't happened. David Deutsch and Sam Harris did a really brilliant discussion on this. But obviously, many of the researchers working on AI don't believe in the soul or spirit and may consider a sophisticated enough simulation as an actual conscious being on the same level as human beings. Well, David, that's a brilliant comment. And, Blake Lemoine actually did this when he made a very brave stance, I thought. He did something with a lot of moral courage, which no one recognises him, because he's a typical geek. He's a sort of very young, overweight male, so no one really recognises his contribution, which is very shallow, I think. He did believe that this experimental chatbot he was working on, called Lambda, he believed that it became a conscious being. And I did an entire article about this, and I think I discussed this with Claire Ray Randall in one of the my reply videos to her, or reviews of hers, that he's probably wrong, but he believed it was. And the thing is, believing something else is conscious is very much a projection of our own consciousness. It could be something as simple as like Tom Hanks's character in Castaway. Because he becomes so lonely, he loses his mind and starts talking to a ball. He even gives it a name. He calls it Wilson. But people who worked with Eliza in the 60s, which is a very simple, primitive chat box, they ended up having like long conversations with it, to the point where they believed, they kind of adopted it as a friend, and they believed it was real. So this could, when we sense a consciousness in another being, it may be simply a delusion of our own projection. But it's a very, very interesting point. But I think this, in a sense, it's a lot of dualists like you and me are going to believe this, that the fact that AI can't create consciousness is a proof of the existence of the soul. It is not, however, because you can never say, well, maybe the next upgrade will create consciousness. So it becomes unfalsifiable, because every time they bring out a new AI and it's not conscious, they'll say, yes, but we will make one conscious in the future. And well, you can speculate about that forever. You can never say, well, okay, it never will be in the possible. It never will be in the future possible to create a conscious machine. So yeah, but it's very interesting indeed, David. I've done an entire video on that, as you probably know. So check that out if you haven't. Tour 2 of 2. Cole Costello says, hi Ben, with all the talk of AI, I don't know if you've ever seen the film Her, a 2013 release, but very much what you and Colin were chatting about. Worth a watch if you ever get the chance. Well, thanks for the tip, Cole Costello. Cheers. Tour 1 of 2, Steve-O says, the Benometer was definitely heading past the amped-up pointer pre-conference. Colin returns, and Ben's back amongst his pals. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean by Benometer. The energy of the place is just overwhelming. It really, really is. Mrs. Balloon says on Tour 1 of 2, thanks for sharing. I always get a good night's sleep when you put on a long-form video. I'm grateful. Lots and lots of words. If I go to the Britain's Isles, I'll probably uncontrollably fall asleep quite often. I'm thankful for the word keepers. You're a fine person and fun to listen to often. I think you intentionally hide your funny side. Do I hide my funny side? Mrs. Balloons, I love humour, but thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you very much indeed. And Cole Costello says, you don't watch? How rude. And Crafty Nihilist laughs. Oh, but I know a lot of people, because my videos are centred on dialogue, I know a lot of people simply listen to most of them. I mean, I know there's others like the Isle of Man one, where it was very visual, but a lot of my videos like this one are dialogue only. You could actually rip the audio from this and just listen to it on your earphones when you're driving or something. Tour 1 of 2, Mrs. Balloons says, I was thinking of taking a train vacation in Siberia. It looks cosy. You said that you don't like train travel, and I don't have any experience with it. Is it easy to get motion sickness on a train? Are the tracks loud? Any information will help. Well, I mean, when it comes to the Trans-Siberian Express, I think I'd like to do that for an experience of it. But I think it may be slightly different from a British Rail thing. Rhiannon says, I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. There is a big difference between travelling on trains for pleasure and having to travel on British trains because there's no way of getting from one place to another. That's true, Rhiannon, yeah. I've never heard of anyone getting travel sickness on a train. The sound can be very soothing and almost musical. I would definitely say do it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, let us know how you get on, Mrs. Balloons. And Crafty says trains are brilliant. Crafty, of course, lives by a big railway tunnel, yeah. And Rhiannon says, forgot to say hi to Mrs. Crafty. Nice to see you again. And Balloon says, thanks everyone, that's encouraging. I'm going to put it on my list. Good idea, Balloons. Let us know how you get on. There's a good film called Trans-Siberian, I remember, with Ben Kingsley plays a bad guy, but he does it very well. Yeah. It's quite a disturbing story though, because it's a very, very Trans-Siberian it includes, along with Ben Kingsley's really brilliant villain, there's another villain in it who is a very well developed portrayal of psychopathy. It's very good. Tor 2 of 2. User ID, user VL something or other says, thank you, I loved it. Oh, you're welcome, user VL, and a whole string of numbers and letters. You're welcome. Tor 2 of 2. Alright, there's a timestamp here, and Crafty says, for the record, this was not me and Mark. And I actually put a text comment saying correct, and Jam Noise says phew, lol. Yeah, maybe I should have clarified in the video. I'm talking about someone else. I'm talking about someone completely different. And that should. I didn't do it because that's kind of obvious, because it's out of character for those two. But anyway, sorted. Tor 2 of 2, the Crafty Nihilist. Midnight finished. Mainly watched to find out what you were doing when you were wandering off. And I said, you stayed up with the popcorn. Thanks. I hope it enlightened you. Oh, thank you, Crafty. You were really great. I mean, I'm really, really grateful for your contribution to this. Tor 1 of 2. My Kingdom for a Mouse. Yes. That was basically... I was the actual touchpad on the... I hate those touchpads. And, of course, my laptop only has one of those silly touchpads, which are really awful interface. Nothing as it seems says Venus has been in retrograde, but not since May has Mercury been in retrograde. Alright, well I don't know enough to know what the effects of Venus retrograde are, but I know Mercury retrograde often causes confusion, it causes mechanical breakdowns and things like that, misunderstandings, etc. Tor 2 of 2, Neil Peel. Robert Monroe wrote 3 books in total. Alright, the third one was a bit off the mark, I thought, but the overall work of him was excellent. Right, and right, I'm not going to read the rest because it involves a conversation with a troll. Tor 2 of 2. Oh, the song Freedom could be Richie Havens. Right, I did wonder when this song came into my dreams whether it was simply something that I maybe have heard at some point. You know, it could be that. So I did wonder. Okay, so we come on to another comment here from Rhiannon. Ben, the Egyptian drawing on the pavement is not the Nile or the sun. It depicts Nut, the sky goddess, holding up the sky above her husband Geb, and the earth god. In regards to the naming of unknown craft threats, maybe it would be more accurate to refer to them as potential threats. A small but important distinction, not knowing what they are, and more specifically what their intention is what creates a high degree of both wonder and psychological anxiety depending on the outlook of the individual. Well, you know, I'm the former Rhiannon, so are you. Speaking of psychological anxiety, I visited Glastonbury many years ago and was quite disturbed by the energy there. I'm not quite sure why. I do think the place attracts a lot of people with psychological issues who don't always have the best of intentions. I'd like to go back one day and make a further assessment. Good comment, Rhiannon. Yeah, I mean, as far as maybe saying potential threat is a good idea, or because the word threat really is it's military strategy jargon, which means both threat and potential threat. But for dealing with people who are not read into that kind of language, and I had to look it up because I'm not a military strategist, it may be adding potential is probably not a good idea. Is probably not a bad idea. Now, yeah, in terms of wonder, I mean, I'd be the one who deals with wonder. I'm not scared of these secrets that are being kept from us. I'm not scared at all. And I'm ready to face whatever the reality of it all is, even if it's something quite dark. I mean, I've often said, you know, they say be careful what you wish for in case it comes true. Knowing the truth about the UFO phenomenon could be unwelcome even to people who are expecting something better. So what if we discover, for example, we're all farm animals and we're all living on some kind of intergalactic barnyard, and the aliens are kind of like they're literally treating us like they're literally treating us like cattle. What if that's the case, and we have no way of escaping that fate, any more than a cow born on a farm in England or Wales could escape their fate. As for Glastonbury, on reflection, I think I understand what you mean. I didn't at the time because I was on a high. I was on an energy high, like I always do when I get to Glastonbury. But later on, I mean, this did sort of come to my attention in the video that intense energy resulted, I think, maybe that I overreacted to certain situations were there in a negative way, like the person I thought was rude to me. I mean, they were rude to me, but I think it hit me harder because I was in Glastonbury than if I hadn't been, because it really made me furious for a couple of hours, and I was like seething. So it could be that these things upset me more because I was in Glastonbury and I was in that high energy environment. I think it's probably a place I wouldn't want to live in. I mean, because it would be a bit like, obviously it would be, on one part of me I'd love it because it would be like getting into a really warm soapy bath, but then once you're in that bath you don't want to get out. I think a lot of people who live there for a long time end up a bit like that. But yeah, going back there, it's not a bad idea. It's like for a short visit. Tour 2 of 2, RSWPT, I don't know what that stands for. On tour, the Onion Route, or on tour, Tour. Tour, I know Americans pronounce it differently, but tour and tour are they're both homophones in British English. And of course it is a pun, as the crafty nihilist explains here. It refers to Glastonbury Tour, but of course there is like a VPN browser called Tor, which I use because it's very encrypted. You use a lot of proxy servers and things, and it's likely to be very private. And as RSWPT says, I'm not English and I wasn't aware. And no, I mean, I think if you're American or something, you may not actually get that. It's kind of a pun. Now, Emlyn-Jones says on tour, she left a long comment here on tour 2 of 2. One thing you do have in common with the majority of your fellow humans, Ben, is that they don't know why they are here either. The difference between you and most of them is you wonder about why, whereas they don't. On the subject of disappearing insects, anyone in our age or older will remember every summer childhood involving lots of flying ants and other insects on the car windscreen. Yeah, I do remember being a child and there was more insects around. It was weird because when I went back to the Isle of Man, that situation returned. You saw all the flies. It appears that on the Isle of Man there still seems to be a healthy insect population, which you don't find in southern England where I live. I wonder whether we no longer see this because of the lack of insects, or because the insects have evolved to learn to avoid cars. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if insects have that level of intelligence to evolve behaviour like that. Maybe if AI takes over, capital won't need to be generated by the population, but will instead be allotted to us digitally, dependent upon your compliance with and acceptance of the acceptable views and opinions. That's what I'm afraid of, Rhiannon. I mean, this is the principal reason I'm opposed to this kind of thing. Because, of course, if AI... The thing is, AI I don't think would take over itself. It appears not to have its own will. But it could be harnessed to the will of people who most certainly are conscious and are actors in that respect. This would certainly explain why governments, is Rhiannon again, are so keen to encourage the population to become professional victims reliant on the state. Yeah, I mean, that's what UBI is. That's what the 15-minute cities, everything. It's all about that. There'll be some kind of massive debt jubilee at some point, and the conditions will be, well, you accept CBDC and things like that. She continues, consider the evidence. The Welsh Assembly is giving £1,600 a month to all care leavers to sit on their arse all day. Demands that all school children receive free school meals during the term and summer holidays. And the summer holidays, all right, irrelevant of parental income or ability to feed their own children. Well, that's UBI, straight down the line, independent of ability to pay, yeah. So no one is, there's no means testing anymore. It's just something that everyone gets. Feminist policies which undermine fathers and replace them with the state, etc., etc. Yes, of course, one of the principles of feminism is men, especially white men, are a surplus population. And indeed, in the heart of second wave feminism in the late 60s, there were serious calls, in the future, once the feminists are taken over, we'd simply get rid of them. They'd simply be gas chambered. They seriously described this, and indeed, if people like that gained political power, I'd be afraid for my safety and the safety of my demography. I really would. And today, the feminists undercurrent. The feminist line is generally that fathers are at best unnecessary, at worst a detriment to the family. And I know some feminist is going to come along and saying, but I'm a feminist and I don't believe that. I'm a moderate feminist. And I don't think that at all. Yes, the thing about you moderate feminists is you don't punch left, do you? You will not denounce your more extreme elements. You still accept them as part of you. You just say, "Well, I disagree with them, but I don't believe that." But no, they're still part of our sisterhood, man. And moderate, a lot of extreme elements of all left-wing fields. They have their own ideas which others don't agree with, but the ones that don't agree with them will provide them with, say, legal assistance. They'll give donations to them and things like that. So, moderate feminists, there's no such thing in my view. With regard to the idea that grey aliens have large eyes because they come from a planet with low light, this could be an example of humans coming up with a human explanation for a phenomena entirely outside earthly, let alone human experience. Yeah, it's speculation on my part, completely, I admit that. On Earth, mammals respond to low light by either developing other senses or having large eyes that allow the maximum amount of light to hit the retina. Yeah. Owls, for example, have huge eyes because they have to see in very dark places because they're nocturnal. But what if aliens don't have retinas? What if their eyes work in an entirely different way to any creatures on Earth? What if they don't have eyes or arms or heads, for that matter? Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I'm afraid I'm inclined to agree with Richard on the issue of the alien interview. Richard, well, that is fake. I'm more impressed with the idea that grey aliens' appearance is either the product of manifested human fear of some kind, manifested human fear, some kind of protective suit. Yeah, I mean, Richard, do you mean someone on the video? I must be someone on the video. Sorry, Richard. Which Richard? I'm more impressed with the idea, some kind of a product of manifested human fear, some kind of protective suit, and/or an alien's attempt to impersonate what we look like to them. Who's going to tell if they didn't get it quite right? Yeah, it could be. There's all these other possibilities are very interesting. I mean, look, AI can't even get human hands right in their art. The hands always have like 7 fingers or something, or they're split in two. It's really weird. Yeah. Well, it's something to think about. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but maybe it is. Maybe they are a manifestation. Maybe they're a tulpa from inside us, as you say, manifested human fear. They are obviously a physical object, though. They are. But I don't know if you believe the alien interview is fake, if that's what you mean. The alien interview is fake. Because, I mean, it's not. I don't think it is. And I've made a video explaining why. I'll happy to discuss that with you at any time you like, privately or publicly. I still think Glastonbury is a bit of a magnet for psychic vampires with massive egos, which may be why you felt so drained being there longer than a day or two, Ben. Maybe that was it. I mean, to be honest, some of the people I found I did find rather exhausting. I did. And maybe I've known people. See, I've known very new age people, and several in particular. There's one in particular who was a very destructive person, actually, who I wrongly thought of as a friend. Yeah. So, okay, that's the end of that particular thread. Right. Thanks, Rhiannon. Good comment. Thank you very much. Dark Corner said on Tour 2 of 2. Thanks, Ben, for another fantastic reportage. You're welcome, Dark Corners. I'm glad you liked it. Dark Corners. Tour 2. The only positive aspects of the whole AI debacle, as I see it, is there'll always be certain jobs that AI will never be able to do. I don't know. Dark Corners, don't remember. People have said at one point AI could never write a book or paint a painting and things like that. That's so... don't know. My own career as a carer of the elderly, for example, or your own hospital porter will always need the human touch, and that brings me a great deal of joy. Yeah, you're probably right there, Dark Corners, that I actually wrote an article about this on the HPWA blog, and I brought it up on the gas spanner, that it's some technologies can't replace humans simply because there is a need for humanity, simply for humanity to exist in that situation, and indeed our own professions are one of them. Okay, we have Paranormal Britain. This is Tour 2. This is a long comment here from Paranormal Britain. That's a good title. I might well sub to that channel if it's as good as it appears to be. Let's have a look. Paranormal Britain. YouTube.com/channel. Oh, it doesn't have any content. Oh, Rachel Oakley. Oh, this is someone I know from Facebook. Right. Someone's just asking me if I'm still making my comment reply video. I'm just going to put yes, because I had to break. Well, I actually had to break off. You may have noticed a slight break in the transmission. That was because basically because I had to go and record Third Rail Radio, which will be up later this evening. Firstly, thanks so much for these videos, says Paranormal Britain. They've been incredibly informative, and my husband and I have just booked a weekend in Glastonbury later this month to explore. Oh, cool, you're welcome. I'll definitely book to go to the symposium in future too. Secondly, I'm sorry you had a negative experience with your friend. Bit of background here. I'm a psychic witch, and professionally, I am a retired teacher and trained life coach. All of the above are intrinsically linked, as I'm sure you'll understand. I've studied a lot of psychology over the years, and I've learned a lot about people's behaviour. Link that with psychic connections, and you have a very well-rounded, it's a long comment here, but that's not a problem it being long. That's not a criticism. Understanding of people. We all have varying levels of narcissism. In the most part, it is benign. Your description of your friend and my intuition tells me she has quite strong extrovert narcissistic traits. She can't help it. They mirror the person they are speaking to create a connection, which explains why they don't join in group conversations very well. Alright, that's interesting way of putting at it, yeah. It's hard to mirror a whole group of different people, and by doing so you would alienate all of them, so they stick to one person at a time. They also are always looking for the person that could be of most use to them. Not necessarily intentionally or maliciously. It could be as simple as they're interested in what the person has to teach them, or in the other extreme, it could be that the other person could get them a better job or lend them a holiday home. Anyway, my point is their behaviour towards you was not personal, not meant to hurt you. That's just the way they are. Oh, thanks very much, Rachel. I mean, I kind of realised that. I said it's just the way they are, I realised that. I think I was oversensitive because I was in Glastonbury. My third point about NPCs is, in coaching we call the personal growth path the spiral staircase. You can be on a certain step on the staircase with others, and then for multiple reasons, usually spiritual guidance and new knowledge, you go up a step or several and your friends stay where they are. This disconnects them from you in many ways. God, yes, I've noticed. Yes, I've noticed. Where are we? Yeah, you may or may not fall out, but you're more awake and aware than them, and because they cannot understand how you got to where you are, you drift apart. This happens a lot in families and relationships of all kinds. It doesn't mean they will never get there. They may catch up very quickly at some point, or they may never reach your level. I've found. Can I call you Rachel? Because that's what's on your channel, and I know who you are because we've talked on Facebook. That's really the case with my family. Like I said, when my dad asked me about UFOs, I was just like, at that moment I knew the world had changed forever. Yeah, I gave up talking to him about it about 20 years ago because I didn't want to fall out with him, My husband is a huge skeptic, and I guess he's never met. If he'd never met me, he'd remain that way. But in the mid-90s, he had a UFO experience that shook him out of his comfort zone, and now he's a bit more open to the concept that the physical world he knows is not all that there is. And me being more at home in the spiritual realm is helping him to open his mind and learn more, even if it is passively turning into a YouTube video that I'm watching. Passively tuning in. All right. Well, that's a step in the right direction, I'm glad you have a good relationship even though you have these different views. My fourth point I wanted to raise is on the back of you and Colin talking in the car on your way home. I think that there are aware people like ourselves, and you are right, that there are aware people like ourselves, and you are right. History tells us that these oppressors eventually get overthrown, but the deep state seems to have expertly divided our human beings into bickering and indeed fighting amongst themselves to the point of absolute distraction. If the deep state controls AI, there's no way we'll be able to communicate the real story to people in the future. The AI will be in complete control of every method of communication, and we will have to augment our messages to appear to be in line with whatever narrative it wants us to have. The AI videos that can be created using our image and our voice in video form will be used like in the film The Running Man to make us look like criminals, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen that Not Morgan Freeman video. You see a video of a guy, he looks like the actor Morgan Freeman and sounds like him. He says, I'm not Morgan Freeman, I'm an AI animation. It's creepy, really creepy, because I wouldn't know that wasn't him. I really wouldn't. And you said here, as for I don't believe there's no hope. I mean, if they had all this power, they would have used it by now. I don't think they have everything their way. So the idea that there'll be no way to communicate the real story, etc., and they control everything, it hasn't happened yet. And they're clearly in a rush to get things done. It indicates the bad guys don't think that either. As for keeping us fighting amongst ourselves, I try to avoid that. I mean, this is why I've actually challenged a flat earther to a live debate at Truth Seekers Teesside. I'll say more about that later, but they want to host a live event, which is me versus a flatty, and it should be fun. It'll all be a good laugh, you know, because I don't, as I said, I fall out with people. Andrew Johnson I mentioned, but I don't fall out with people because of differences of opinion. And finally, I would always say thank you to Siri and Alexa. My children mock me, but my theory is as AI develops consciousness, it'll pick out people who it deems rude, selfish, or parasites, and they'll be punished. The next couple of years will be very telling and transformative. But AI, don't hurt me, AI. I supported you. I love what you do, and Andy and Neil at the Paranormal Peep Show, and wish you all the best for your endeavours. Thank you very much, Rachel. That's a great comment, that is. Right. Now, this is Neil says, wow, what a comment on Ben's video. Thank you for your thoughtful insights. Glad your husband is now more open to the idea of spirit and cine UFO. Thanks also for watching our Paranormal Peep Show, of which Ben is a great contributor on a regular basis. Yeah, and I met Andy, actually. He appears in my video that I've just shot and I'm editing right now. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, thank you very much, Rachel and Neil. All right, Tour 2, Linda Joy. All right, this is a lady, Linda Joy Warby, who I actually interviewed. Yeah, hello Ben. I enjoyed listening to your Glastonbury experience. Thanks for sharing, Linda. This is a real person I met at the Glastonbury Symposium, who I think appears in the video. So thank you, Linda. It was great to meet you. Tour 2, Jam Noise 72. Hey, Soul Sister. I agree so much with you here, bro, about it being sad that some people have such a deep fear of death. These people are no fun and usually are not very spontaneous. How can you fear death so much that it affects your life? I just don't get it. I know it does, doesn't it, though, Jam Noise? And it's people, and there seems to be some people, and believe it or not, belief in an afterlife is not the factor that the skeptics think it is, because there are people who do believe in an afterlife who are afraid of death, especially if they're very religious. And Dark Corner says, I don't fear death, but I do fear dying painfully. Yeah, I know what you mean. I would hate... I hope when it comes to me, I hope it's painless and quick. I don't want to end up with some bloody degenerative illness like other people I've seen. You know, old people who lose their minds and things like that. Well, I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on him. We may take the mickey out of Joe Biden, but it's pretty clear he's an example of that. Tour 2. I have plenty of insects here, says Jam Noise. Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. Yeah, I don't watch everything you upload, unfortunately, Jackie. I don't have time. But I've seen those, and I think maybe you attract them. You see, I think it may be your positivity that brings them in. You know. Tour 2, Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, I've got my skeptic hat on once again. Ooh. He's in the skeptic mood as our Gary now. Yeah. I'm listening to your thoughts on Colin's Star Wars talk, and the connections he's making are very interesting. However, I'm at the point where I'm thinking that many of the things he brings up could have happened subconsciously, because many of them are things that were either done at the last minute to save money, such as the Empire being defeated, which was not the original ending of Return of the Jedi, and the phase about a long time ago that was written by Brian De Palma and not George Lucas. When I'm not so tired, I'll write more in detail. I know I've said this before, but both the Squid-Head aliens and Mon Calamari were aliens designed by Phil Tippett and chosen randomly by George from a large group of aliens for the movie. Point being, I doubt that Phil Tippett was trying to make a connection with the Nomo. Cheers. Oh, Gary, obviously I've learned a lot, and I don't know if you know Colin, but Colin does watch my videos, and you could contact him yourself, of course. But I mean, I'll make him aware of this. You've talked about this. Gary also says, rude of that woman, by the way, mate. Don't let it get you down. Thanks. I didn't really, Gary. I didn't. And, I didn't get into an argument with her. We got on all right for the rest of the trip. I had already worked out, I don't think there was actually any malice intended. It was just her manner, yeah. Highway Star. How you doing, Highway Star? This is Tour 1. Thanks for another enlightening video. I've always wanted to visit Glastonbury, and now we'll finally be visiting. Good on you, Highway Star. Tour 2, Jam Noise 72. Really interesting chat with you and Colin in the car at the end. I posted a little bit about AI on my community page recently, bro. There is a video on there that will interest you. I'll check it out, Jackie. I will. Yeah. I mean, I've got like so much to do at the moment. I don't know when I'm going to get the chance, because I've got to write an article for UFO Truth magazine. I've got to edit this and upload it, and I've got to interview someone tomorrow. And I'm not going to do a HPANWO show this week. I don't think I won't have time. And that's the end of an hour. Great. We're on to hour number 4. All right, guys. Hour number 4. We're here now. I'm almost at the top of the YouTube list now. So probably this will be the last hour. Which will make it a 1-part video, despite everything. Dark Corner said, my favourite part of the Bible was when Jesus was encased in carbonite. I'd say slightly mixed memories there, Dark Corners UK. But it's funny that Colin did bring that sort of like coming back to life thing, which actually happened. And that's what Gary was saying. I do, as a writer, I can see that some elements of the Star Wars, the original trilogy particularly, seem to have been maybe contrived as the story went along. I do see that, yeah. Dark Corner said, Jar Jar becoming a politician is one of the most accurate things in the prequel trilogy. Look at the Conservative Party. Jar Jar Binks, an immature, sort of like amphibious thing that talks complete gibberish and can hardly complete a sentence. Yeah, I see what you mean. That was all on Tour 2. Right, UFO Congressional Hearing Livestream, new video. And it's Sweeps. Hey, Sweeps, how you doing, matey? Sweeps Foxman. Ben, oh, you didn't notify me of this live stream. You went to YouTube at some point. I went to YouTube at some point to find it myself. Damn. Then you've removed the uploader by the 7th of August video, so we don't know what it might have been about or why you removed it. Help, Was it about Glastonbury? Anywho, thanks for your comment on my congressional hearing blog, mate. You're welcome, Sweeps. What you're referring to there is the live stream notice, which I always remove about 24. I always remove it 24 hours or so after the live stream goes, or basically when I can download the original, so I know I won't lose it or delete it by accident. That was the thing. Now, you should get your notifications, Sweeps, for this. Definitely. I mean, I could have sent it to you. I know I normally send these things to you, which is so apologies for that. But you should be able to. There's a lot of people complain about this. They don't get the notifications even though they've clicked the bell. Yeah. Okay. Gary Robinson once again. Hey Ben, mate. This is on UFO Disclosure 2023 UFO Hearing 1 week on. I've been watching War of the Worlds on Disney Plus, which is a TV series starring Gabriel Byrne. Right, this is not. Oh, I know the one. Yes, that's the. Yes, that looks quite interesting. That, yeah. The show is half in French, half in English, and has a really interesting cast of actors from both countries. Anyway, what's interesting about it is that the aliens turn out to be humans from a faraway galaxy who are becoming sick of their own planet, and for reasons that have not yet been revealed, have decided to wipe out humans on Earth and somehow use our planet to regain their health. It's kind of the opposite to the Knowing film. It's kind of the opposite to the plot of the film Knowing, really, there. They have these very frightening robot dogs that they use to hunt and down and kill any humans that didn't die in the initial attack. And these dogs look very much like the Boston Dynamics dogs that I believe are aimed at law enforcement. Oh, those really creepy ones with the robot legs you can't knock over. Oh dear. Where am I going with this, you ask? Well, I'm putting my woo hat on for a minute. That's good news. Because I'm thinking that if Werner von Braun was correct and the false alien invasion was in the works, it could potentially look very much like this TV show. For example, the aliens are humans, so the powers that be could simply use mercenaries to posing as ETs and send them out with machine guns, just like in the TV show. They could be backed up by Boston Dynamics dogs, which I imagine could be modified to have firearms. Oh yeah, very easily. The average sheeple, some of whom may even have watched the show, would assume that they are aliens, when in fact the whole thing could be an earthly deception. Cheers. Yeah. Gary, that's perfectly possible, yeah. Right, Tour 1, Contact Times. Hello, Contact Times, says, on tour. He makes a joke out of the tour thing. Is that odd, David? I'm just looking at the channel now. It's David Griffin, I don't believe it. My goodness me. Dr. Livingston, I presume. My goodness, David, I haven't heard from you for so long, and then you've come out of your little hermit's hut in the middle of the woods and come out and join civilization again. It's great to hear from you. I've missed you, I really have. Good to hear from you, buddy. I know you're on Telegram quite a lot, and maybe I'll catch up with you there because I am in your group. So take it easy. Thanks very much for the comment, David. Thanks very much indeed. Adjust this slightly because I think it's a bit. Is that all right? Yeah, that's better. Okay, contact. Oh, and here's David again. Contact Times. God bless you, Ben, but there's never going to be a formal government disclosure. It'll happen in reverse kind of matter. It'll happen in a reverse kind of manner in a few stages, dictated by our authentic visitors and allies. 2028 limited. 2033 full display. 2035 full interaction with those left on Terra and not having run to underground mansions. Well, David, this is an issue I do bring up in the disclosure videos that I've uploaded, which you may have seen. It's a possibility that this is some kind of massive confidence trick. But although, of course, the extraterrestrials themselves could, at some point, decide to be more open and have a sort of open contact, in which case, why haven't they yet? I mean, we're dealing with an unknown psychology, so it's difficult to predict what they would ever do because we don't know how they think. But yeah, but thanks. Great to hear from you again. Well, we have Inferno Watch Read Party live stream. And we have Steve Mumbling, who has a link here, which is, it's his, what's this? This is, it's News Nation, Intercept reporter on Grush. I never believe the UFO stuff, News Nation. All right,
Ross Coulthart.
Oh, all right, I never believed that UFO stuff. Right, what's this about? I'm not going to watch the whole thing because it's over 5 minutes long. But what's your point, Steve? The UAP fanboys should be ashamed of themselves for exploiting someone with mental health issues for financial gain. They all have books and DVDs on the subject for sale. Oh, for goodness sake, you've been watching Stephen Cambion, haven't you? He came out with that crap. He came out with that bollocks. That somehow David Grush is some kind of twittering wallflower. Despite the fact that he's a very intelligent, high-level military intelligence officer. So I don't quite know where you get that idea that we're somehow exploiting. He's some kind of vulnerable guy we're exploiting. Because Cambion came up with that bollocks. They all have books and DVDs on the subject for sale. Oh, dearie me. Oh, what's wrong with that? I mean, did the Communist Party take power in the night? And Steve Mumbling says here on 1 Week On, this is all unravelling quite rapidly. Tim Burchett has said his witnesses with first-hand experience of ET materials are backing out on him. He also said one of these witnesses told him they work for NASA. NASA said they never heard of them. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons they're backing out, because they don't want to be denounced in this and rejected in this way. Do you believe NASA or do you believe Tim Burchett? Well, I know who you believe, Steve. And then, of course, Grush has zero tangible evidence and zero credibility due to his mental health. Right, I'm not going to read the rest of that, Steve, because I think you're kind of repeating what was said in that scandalous article, that disgraceful treatment of David Grush by these damn bastard reporters. Barry T says underneath, whilst having mental health problems doesn't make someone a liar or render them unable to recognise reality, the fact that no solid evidence has been put forward renders all of this in the realm of claims. Again, I mean, what you want, Barry? Do you literally think that in the very first hearing in which the United States is investigating its very own military-industrial complex, you're going to have some kind of massive parade of a dead alien is sort of wheeled in on a gurney, and people bringing boxes of documents to just pour onto the desk, and then someone turns up and says, "Oh yes, I handled real aliens. I really did. Yeah," knowing full well that they're going to be ridiculed, and they're going to the backslappers and the skeptics are going to attack them. This is why people are backing out. It's got nothing to do with, oh, it's not real after all, Steve. People are backing out because the backlash includes a lot of personal attacks. And this is why people on our side need to be supportive and comforting to these people. People like Ross, Coulthard and others are. Maybe they'll change their minds and come forward again. That's what we want. Tor 1, Tor Engen, Schwab. To rebuild the world in our image, quote unquote. Isn't it to play God and therefore satanic? Yes, totally. And finally we have here on Rachel's Eyes book review. Oh, this is an old one, but I really did enjoy doing this video because I enjoyed the book. Makes one wonder how many alien hybrids there are. Yes, it does me too. This is Vic Goss, YR2GGI. Right, thank you very much. That's the end of the YouTube comments for now. There'll be more later, of course. There'll be more posted. But I'll go now to BitChute. And as always, I'm going to now. I'm going to go to the notifications first, but then I need to make some notes because I actually did some text replies to BitChute. So I'm just going to go through these particular comments. As you know, this takes a while, so play amongst yourselves while I scroll down. But it's nice that actually BitChute has this facility now, where they never used to. Yeah, so that's right. All right, alien. All right, this is it. Yes, Alien Area 51 alien interview with Jon Stewart. This is the old, because this was an old video. I needed to make a note of it because unfortunately, BitChute. BitChute, if you go on a video where there's a comment, it just deletes the notification. Okay. Drixel says here, alien puppet interview. It's simple, almost amateurish rubber puppet. I could build one as well without a problem. And I put a text reply saying, no, you couldn't, otherwise you'd be earning a fortune in Hollywood. And then someone replied to my last notification comment here. It's actually 4 months ago, and they say, WTF, canned reply, and I say, what do you expect? I get thousands of comments a week. Fools. Alright, so now there's this, there's someone called I Mute Libtards. That's a good name, isn't it? And someone has replied, but there are extraterrestrials, and I said, yes, I know. So, yeah, I do know that, yeah. Yeah, so that's basically... I got some 3 comments on that video, not necessarily most of them weren't very positive, but they were there. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a bit further. The hates. What's this? No. Right. This is UFO Disclosure 2023 Senate Hearing Part 2. Lots of comments on old videos. This particular thing. Right. Okay. Worm. Is this? No, it's not. Oh, I was looking at Worm Spleen. Who asked me about the disclosure champagne? That was 4 months ago. Temporary life. That's a fact, isn't it? Poverty rises and people worry about UFOs. They are lying to steal your tax money. And I say here in text, no, I think this might be a push for willing disclosure, as I say in the video. And I think this person is making the point that UFOs are just a distraction from real matters that matter. And as you know, I don't agree with that, as I've explained several times. Things that matter, yes. Scrolling. Sweet home Alabama. Oh, right, we have sweeps to Fox. Now, I don't think this is on one of my videos. No, it's not, but, right, but sweeps says here. Oh, this is, yes, this is being orchestrated, malignant migration, population replacement by global agents, the United Nations WEF cultural Marxists, yeah. As I said, this is a very worrying trend that I've noticed. It seems to be about population shifts. They want basically a homogeneous human population across the world, I think. That's the plan. So that we don't feel any affinity for our nations and communities. I think George Orwell put it very well. There's only one relationship in the ideal totalitarian society. There's no friends, there's no family, there's no mothers or fathers. There's no communities, cities, countries, identity of any kind, other than that between the individual and the state. There'd be no love except love of Big Brother. Is that it? No more? Alright, this is Andrew Tate update, wireless energy. Oh right, this is the video version of Third Rail Radio, yeah. This is Restricted Information Channel, who says, I took this from the paper in question. Corresponding to a space of two identical sheets joined by many bridges, the value of the theory has not been treated. The excerpt does not prove the existence of wormholes. It states the theory there will be zero mass particles spanning space between two parallel universes. Okay, I'm afraid I'm out of my depth here, mate. If you know more about this than me, then so be it. Right. Have I not had any comments at all on my new videos, on my latest ones? Normally I get a couple on BitChute on my new uploads. It seems I haven't had any. It's a bit strange. Anyway, I'll keep scrolling. Oh, right. This is Alien Interview. What's this? Oh, this is my earlier Alien Interview, I said. Yeah. Oh, and there's Drixel again. There's Drixel, who says laughable puppet. Again, so it's the same user making the same comment on a different video on the same subject. And I said, no, see my recent interview with Jon Stewart on the channel. Oh, I see. Drixel then went and watched that. All right, well, thanks for checking that out, Drixel. But you didn't change your mind, and I think you're wrong. I still think you're wrong with that. But thanks for watching. And I think that looks to be it. Richard Dolan talks about UFOs at Brian Rue's home. I'll tell you what, I'll just check out my latest uploads. There must surely be a comment on there. Maybe it didn't appear on the list. No comment there. Congressional hearing. Nope. 1 week on. No comments. Oh, that's strange. And then there's the Glastonbury videos. Nope. I find it hard to believe there is none. Nope. And then Inferno Watch Read Party, which is my last video, and nothing. Oh, hang on, there is one. Back to Nature says, Ben, check this out and share. This is someone called NoPopRealismJournal.wordpress. Well, let's have a look at it then. Okay. Why didn't that appear on the... Probably because I might have actually watched the video. Neo-Pop Realism Journal, it's called. It's a blog. What is liberalism? It's a political theory founded on the autonomy of the individual. Alright, I can't watch all this, unfortunately. I can't read all this. Because it's simply because I'm just in the middle of doing this comments reply. But thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. That is BitChute done. And so now I'm going to move on to Odyssey. Now, the good news about Odyssey, I found out how you can just get comments only. So, and just comments and nothing else. So that's good. How many days am I going back? There we go. Right. Reply to comments 80. And I have Ivan Kojedje. As I said, I can read a bit of Russian because I was learning it. Thanks for addressing my comment. There are three Scottish banks that issue notes. The Bank of Scotland, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and Clydesdale Bank. All their notes are different, same size and colour scheme, but different design. That's right, yeah, it's interesting. It's the same currency, even though it looks different as pound sterling. But it's always different. I mean, you always know, there's always a lot of them floating around in England whenever the Scotland play. Well, they used to in the cash when it before cashlessness. When Scotland used to play a football match, they used to get into the circulation. Yeah. So thanks. Where am I now? Did I reply to Shelley of the Red here? I just want to check I've replied to Shelley of the Red's comments. Yes, I did. Good, I did. Okay, so I know because I always give a love heart on them, so I know where they are. As much as for any other reason, I put a love heart on them. Right, Dreaming Sources, Marcus Allen. Oh, right, we've got an old one here. Good job. It's a good job I have these notifications and I know how to do it. And we have here Richard Hill. Not Richard D. Hill, are you? Decades after the moon landing, a spokesman representing NASA admitted that they need to find a way to get past the Van Allen belts. Surely that is the best smoking gun. Yes, indeed. Phil Coots talks about this in Nexus magazine. And Richard also says, imagine if it was Marcus who had discovered the belts. Look, guys, we can't get past the Marcus Allen belts. Oh, I'll have to share that with him. I'll have to. Can I nick that joke? That's brilliant. Right. This is UFO Disclosure 2023, waiting for the hearing, and it's Shelley of the Red. Great to hear from you again, Shelley. Hope you're doing all right. Okay. There's quite a few Shelley comments by Shelley here. So just a note about a possible 9/11 leads. About some possible 9/11 leads. Dynacore investigator George Webb became highly suspicious of Dr. Robert Malone back in 2020. Oh, him from... Oh, that guy, yeah. Robert Malone. It turns out his background goes deep into the worlds of bioweapons and population control. I've heard of him, yeah, of course. You might know him as the alternative doctor to Fauci, who was cancelled and brought back. Controlled opposition. Yeah, I didn't know. I knew that some people were accusing him of controlled opposition. Of course, it's always possible. I tend to be cautious with accusations like that, Shelley. As I said, we need some kind of tribunal system. But of course, controlled opposition does exist, and we need to be on our guard against it. Turns out his name keeps coming up with the energy weapons specialists and teams working at Dynacore. Anyway, Ben, I'll just give you a video. Look up here in case you're interested on Rumble. Investigative journalist George Webb uncovering what's been hidden. Dr. Rainer Fulmick. Oh right. I'll just cut and paste that, Shelley. I have to remember to get back. The tag on my clipboard. Let's open that. As I see it here, there's two versions of this actually, on Libertarian 99 and Right to Freedom. Right you are, Shelley. Thanks. Let's get back the tag. Oh dear. What's
For
happened to the...
decades,
Oh,
maybe for more than just decades. So
right you are, Shelley. Thanks very much. Oops, now I want to reopen that tab because I need Rumble open. Reopen last closed tab. Go to Rumble homepage. Right you are. Thanks very much, Shelley. Here's a direct link. Oh, right, so thank you very much, Shelley. Shelley's provided a direct link to that particular video now, so thank you very much, Shelley. And Shelley says, pardon my atrocious typing and editing, a few typos there. Don't worry about it, Shelley. You should see me when I'm commenting on people's videos. Oh, don't spam. I'm not spamming, you stupid twat. Not you, Shelley. No, Odyssey. I'll have to put in a few extra things there just so that it doesn't... Because the system seems to think I'm posting the same comment over and over again when I'm not. Okay, so it's 2023 waiting for the hearing. And now Ben goes on tour part 1 of 2. I'll just close that one. And Shelley, here we go. And it's Shelley again. I actually did make a text comment to Shelley just to thank her for all these comments. And I said here, thanks for the comment, Shelley. I'll give you a full replies on the next comments reply video. And she said, sweet. I'm like sensitive to energies, she says. I would not put up with Glastonbury myself. It was always the feminist wanting to create, manipulate, and have a power differential over others, especially using innocent imagery to try and dominate. Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah, they play that. They love to. They love to make people feel guilty. Their power comes from controlling other people's feelings. On the energetic level, it feels perverse and out of harmony with natural law, like walking into a schism field. Yeah, I think you're making a similar observation there to Rhiannon, and yeah, you're right. Ivan says more top content from BEJ. Thanks very much, Ivan. Kozjedie. Thank you very much, Ivan. And Shelley of the Reds says here, that insulting person lacks boundaries for her own mind. Apparently people are to care for her, want to know about her, but she doesn't train her mind to think of others. Keeping it in those boundaries. They sock people in the gut. Yeah, I mean, I'm not spamming. Oh, hang on. There we go. Shelley, I think I recognise energy vampires, psychic vampires, emotional vampires. Yeah, I've got quite used to those. I used to put up with them much more than I did now. I really did. All right, and we've got some Claire Core. That's Claire. I mean, you may know her, Claire KHAW. She's a quite well-known YouTuber who I sub to. And it's the importance of Andrew Tate for Western men, black and white. That's not my video. It's someone else's. All right. Sorry, that's somebody else's. Okay, that's all. Thanks very much, all guys. That's Odyssey. That's Odyssey done with. I've gone through all the comments notices, and now I'm going to go to Rumble, and of course with Rumble, I'm just going to go through my recent uploads. Just because. Okay, no comments on that one. I just realised I should, when it comes to BitChute, I need to just check something else. Which is basically, I didn't check comments reply 80, which seems silly, which I should have done. And yeah. Oh, and you know something else I didn't do on no comments? I didn't zero the notices, did I? And you always got to zero the notices. That is mark as read and delete. So you delete all these notices, so you don't get them mixed up the next time you do a comments reply video. Seems quite sensible. Okay, waiting for the hearing. No comments. US congressional hearing live stream. No comments. Disclosure UFO hearing 2023 UFO hearing 1 week on. No comments. As you know, Ben goes on tour part 1 of 2. No comments. Ben goes on tour 2023 part 2 of 2. No comments. Inferno watch read live party live stream. No comments. I got that out of the way before I went away last week, because basically the Inferno watch read party was kind of dragging on, wasn't it? And I wanted to get it done. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just going to go to my emails, because I may well have a number of Rumble comments on there which haven't appeared on my actual notifications from Rumble. So I'm just going to go through my notices on Rumble. Well, I'm not share screening, I might know. Because I'll just check what date I have to go back to. Basically, it's the last reply to comments video which I uploaded, because I'm just going to know how far I have to go back in my notices. Basically, to when is it? 23rd of July. Okay, so 7th of the 8th, 7th of October. You are currently subscribed. You can spot the comments notices very easily. 31st of July, nearly there. Oh right. Oh, I have a comment. I have a comment on Rumble. This is Apollo Detectives 12 Steve Mumbling special. Right. I have a Rumble comment. Hallelujah. We have here Tim Tint, good name, who says, and I know I've got to put a few random things here so that people know so I'm not accused of spamming. Mumbling? No. Pretty relentless tongue lashing. Yes, he overplayed his hand, but Emlyn-Jones chairing. Let him dictate the agenda. Henderson should have just said, no, I've not done those calculations, and just let the chips fall, then get on with other debating points. No, I didn't let him dictate the agenda at all, Tim. I allowed him to have his say. Because he was so bombastic, it may look like I was sort of allowing him to walk roughshod over us, but I didn't. I think that's unfair. Huge harm fell on the Apollo detectives with this one. Looks like there's an echo chamber problem. What? How can you say we're an echo chamber when we allow people like mumbling on? I mean, Blue Earth Thing actually was a more challenging skeptic because he was polite and more intelligent. But yeah, anyway, disclosure. I do not like the idea that men went to the moon as described by NASA and the NASA narrative. Equally, I would be in awe of a true hoaxing of the whole deal and cover-up. I'm happy to believe either, but I want to believe the truth. So do I, Tim, but, I don't... I got into this because I don't like... It's really connected to other things that I've discovered. Yeah. That's the thing. Now, we have Zarcastic, CZAI is the Russian king, who says, that guy's a dick. You sure have to put up with a lot of crap. Yeah, I mean, Steve Mumbling, well, I think it's a fair assessment of Mr. Mumbling, quite frankly. So, Zarcastic145, I know exactly what you mean. But thank you for those lovely Rumble comments. This is why you always have to go through your notices. Right, we're nearly there now, 29th. Right, you're currently subscribed. Oh, we're on the 23rd now, so let's go back slightly further. It's because it was an old video from previously. Witchfinder's just posted. Oh, right, Witchfinder has just... Right, oh, this right. I know this comment because it's one that I had to... It was actually deleted by... And as I explain here, it was actually deleted by Rumble because it contained criminal material. So, I got the notice through on email, which is the only way I know about it. Right, that's Rumble done. So now we're just going to go back. Basically, one last step to do is to go back to YouTube and just check the notifications. Right, okay. Right, let's just go to here. So here we go. Just going to go to a home page. There should be a number of these are comments that are posted on YouTube while I have been making this video. Right. Andrew Munchkin, hi Andrew, how you doing? Who says, thanks for broaching this topic, Ben. Oh, you're very welcome. This is on UFO Disclosure 2023, waiting for the hearing. You're very welcome, Andrew, and thank you for posting. Thanks for posting comments on here. Oh, it's post-disclosure. I'll get notifications as well. So, the Crafty Nihilist says here, are you still making your comments reply video? And I say yes, but I'll put in one of these as well. So we carry on down here. 3 hours ago, nearly there, I think. Steve071 says, thanks for the reply to my comment. You're very welcome, Steve-O. You're very welcome indeed. And you get a reply to this one as well. So carry on further down, and we get to 12 hours ago. Right, okay, that's it. That is IT, my friends.
Oh, yeah, morning.
Okay, that is IT. Okay, that is the end of this particular comments reply video, the 81st. And, well, thank you all of you who took part. I must appreciate that. It's needless to say, and it's obvious that if it wasn't for you, then this video just wouldn't happen, because it's the giveaways in the title, isn't it? So I appreciate all of you who posted comments. Even some of the rude ones are quite amusing, and it gave me an opportunity to educate my viewers by replying, and the critical ones as well. So that's what I do this for. Right, next video coming up. Right, well, I have filmed a reportage of Awake and Aware, and this is an event I wasn't speaking this time. I was just in the audience, but I filmed an entire reportage which is going to be uploaded in the next few days, and then I'm going away. I'm going away to Gary Heseltine's Rendlesham Forest tour, and there will be a reportage of that. Okay, so be prepared for that as well. And of course, something might come up that requires a live stream, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen for this week, because I don't know. I don't honestly know if I'm going to get time. I don't honestly know. So this week's a bit constrained. So if I don't check out all your links and watch all the videos you suggest, I'm sorry about that. It is basically because I'm up against the clock. But thank you all of you for watching HPANWO TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.
Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids, psyops, saucers and black triangles, HPANWO.